Okay. Welcome to ClevelandMoto Podcast number 463. Light 'em up, boys.
I've been waiting for this.
Come on, John.
I'm late to the go.
John's
as usual.
coming out of the pocket. It's coming out of the pocket. So, to my left we have,
Dan Kropke.
and to his left,
Steve Sleepy.
and to his,
Johnny
and
Macklefish.
to his left,
Peter Rabbit.
and to his left,
Chris Smith.
and behind the bar today.
Tom Pennington.
Hey! It's just a, generally speaking, we're gonna work our way through April, boys.
Yeah.
We're just gonna work our way through April. Every day the weather report is wrong.
Yep.
Yeah.
Every day it's wrong. I was like, I'm gonna ride in the morning. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be 50 degrees, no rain. Woke up this morning, fucking raining like hell. Yep.
Or the day before when I was like, well, it's going to be cold and rainy tomorrow. So
Yep,
I just
and it
jumped
was
in the car and
gorgeous.
it was beautiful all day.
It was fucking beautiful all day. They have been screwing us over at every turn. Not fucking pleasant. Just
Well, I did bring all the weather with me. Because now there's like tornadoes every week.
yeah, it's getting a little weird out there, man. There's no such thing as like a moderately bad day.
Oh,
No. It's just we're down here recording the podcast, and half the time when we go up, we realize there's been a small craft advisory.
Yeah.
Hail and shingles are off the house, right?
There was a statement earlier this week that Ohio has had the most tornadoes this year of any state in the union.
What?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And it's freaking April.
Yeah,
We just don't have good tornadoes, though. You know, other people
man.
have good tornadoes. Ours,
It's not quite Oklahoma yet.
My God, man. It's just fucking bonkers.
Well, a couple weeks ago when we had the podcast here, I was going, home way out to my house.
Right.
And I was passed by a whole bunch of emergency vehicles, like from other cities.
Right.
They were heading out past me. I think like 30 minutes past where I live, it got hit pretty hard out there.
That's where there was not a joke. There was a trailer park, I think, that got hit really bad out your way.
Yeah.
They have a magnetic attraction to her.
Yeah.
That sort of weather. Yeah, like, honestly.
There was an old comedian who used to say, God hates that shit. Get it off.
Well, and that park was behind on their insurance. So
Well, if you park some tin cans around and some cinder blocks, guess what's going to blow
yeah.
away? The tin cans are going to blow away every time.
Yeah.
I think the
promise.
insurance companies, you miss one payment, they make a call, and next thing you know, there's tornadoes just flattening your shit.
Well, it's either that or they got to put the wheels back on.
I think you see a large cargo plane fly by. It says "Tornadoes are us." Yeah. You're like, "Oh shit, they're coming to take my house."
that happened when I was a kid. There was a tornado ripped right through town and then
really?
up over the hill, and it made up one of those paths of broken trees. You could see right, and they say when it went across the river, you could see the bottom of the river because it was a water spot. It actually parted the river, went right through town, lifted the roof of our garage up, tipped our trailer over, went up over the hill and through a trailer park, and it leveled that fucker flat. We were finding pieces of trailer in the woods for miles
must be
around.
the attraction. You might be onto something. It might be a metal attraction there.
But I don't think there was even one fatality. And when you looked at that park, it was trailer park. It was frames, like just flatbeds all through there.
And Abu Dhabi, who's been thirsty for the past 150 years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
6 feet of water.
Yeah, Dubai's.
Dubai, that's what I meant. Yeah, Dubai. Dubai's underwater.
Did you
Right.
see the article that said that they're not sure that it might have been influenced a bit by their cloud seeding program?
Well, okay.
Oops.
Yeah, right.
Oops.
So there were places in Pennsylvania when I was just there. You saw the picture of the road that was underwater. My brother and I were out in the hinterland, and there was a dip in the road, and it was just, there was 12 feet of water. And apparently there's a car out there. 3 guys thought they could make it. They were drunk.
Oh, no.
there were a bunch of dips. out
Yeah,
there.
so one guy swam back and got help. The other 2 guys were clinging to trees, and they had to be rescued. But the lady said if you had gone out that road further, there's places where there's drop-offs. There's 85 feet of water because that road is level here, and the water's up there. But it dropped. There's a valley, and that valley filled up with water.
Dang.
Wow.
Well, didn't Pittsburgh get hit real bad? I know.
It was bad when I was down at the Allegheny Dam, which is a dam which is normally like a 20-foot. Like it's not like a boulder dam kind of thing, but it's there's a lock that goes around it and stuff. It's good 20 feet tall. It was level.
Yeah.
It was like coming. It was just a ripple coming over.
So there you go.
There we go.
Nobody's no drought. Not up here. Not around here. Not for a long time. Grumpy Sewer guy, because he knows I love to go in the lake, love to go swimming, love to do all my, kayaking and things like that. He said, don't go in the lake after a big rain.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's when they just turn the valves open and let it all run.
Yeah.
Because they have too much water for the wastewater treatment plant. And apparently they're allowed to have a certain amount, just fuck off. And he says, yeah, don't trust it. Just give it a few days to settle down. Give everything a chance to.
The problem is too, like the plants that.
Yeah.
It depends on where your effluent goes, wherever your outfall is. So, like, we go into a small creek, it has to be very clean because
okay.
because
All
it's
right.
a small body of water. But the bigger plants, like Avon and Cleveland,
Yeah.
they're going right into Lake Erie.
Exactly.
So dilution is the solution to pollution.
And you got a whole lake.
You have a whole lake, so they don't really have to have it that clean to begin with.
Yeah,
And
but when
then-
I'm swimming, and I'm right there.
yeah. So, but then a rain comes through, and even though it goes through the plant, it tends to wash out all the solids and everything, and you just get a.
Oh yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, until dilution happens for a few days, you don't want to swim.
Right, you don't want to play that game. No way, no how. Yeah.
Swimming through the baby Ruths.
But we do a very
Yeah.
good job at our plant. I mean, when we get high flow, we pump it up top. We have a huge lake that can fill up, and so we store the water that we can't treat until
Okay.
it slows down, and then we run it back through the plant. So we have an
All right.
EQ.
That makes sense. Yeah, I can tell you, I went down
So,
to the.
thank you for tuning into Sewer Facts.
Well, here's where it's going to come into reality: is I went down to the end of my street where we have a cool little pier out there.
Yep.
And so, first of all, for the past couple of years, the pier has been about a foot over the level. Now, 2-3 years ago, the water was so high in Lake Erie that the pier was underwater, and you could do the Jesus impersonation all day long. It was cool. But now, the pier's been up where it should be, about a foot above the water for the past couple of years. Nope, it's gone. Pier's gone. Lake Erie's full. Thanks for coming, kids. Lake Erie's full. The moose out front should have told you.
Yep.
It's done. But more importantly, when I went out there, holy moly, that is a brown-colored lake. If you would have told me it was excessively full of poo, I would have believed you. I would have. It had a color that I didn't want to go in.
But it's just, I mean, you look at any river, you look
Yeah.
at any of the tributaries to the lake, and they're all brown too.
Yeah.
So it's
all churned up.
It's all kinds of
Everything,
sediment. It's
yeah.
all kinds of everything. Is
Everything from inside went outside. Very, very
That sounds like me after drinking a bunch of beer.
Poo Facts. We should call it Poo Facts.
poo facts. There's a lot going on out there. The funny thing that we've had today from the shop, we've been trying to get everybody to pick their bikes up because, and Chris has been doing a good job. He's only got, you got what, 2 left, right?
Yeah.
You got the 1400 and you got the Cowie 800 Drifter, right? And those are still at the warehouse, so that's my fault. The
Well, we were going to do something too to
Yeah.
ride them all over.
we'll get
the
them
same
over there,
time,
right? Yeah, just make some kind of a plan. It's pretty fun. But we've been trying to get everybody to pick up. So people have been doing a good job coming and picking up stuff. Tons of people bringing shit in. And yesterday there was one hot minute at 3:45 p.m. where 7 bikes showed up at my shop unannounced.
Oh, yeah.
And just said, "I'm here for service." And I was like, "Did you guys all call each other?" Because they all arrived within 3 minutes. And it was just me and Renee are out there with clipboards, checking people in as fast as we could. And, it's nobody's got any, these bikes aren't disasters. They're running good bikes. They could wait a week if they had to. And so, but it was hilarious when these bikes are coming in. Tom's like, "Another one? What the fuck? Wait, I just checked one of those in."
I only rode, what, 25 this
I
week?
know. It's just go. It just doesn't stop. So it is bonkers exciting out there right now. It's pretty cool. Pretty exciting. Today we had a story, though, at the shop of the customer's not always right. In fact, sometimes the customer can hurt themselves. The customer, in fact, might be so wrong that all of us go, "I don't know. This probably is just not a good idea." And the guy showed up on, yes, a Honda Navi. The guy showed up with his own tires. And the reason he did this is the dealership that took his money last year to buy this bike and sold him the bike with the factory Nyla Grip Zapper, world's worst tires in the world, absolutely straight up refused to put different tires on his bike. The dealership said, "We will only put the factory supplied tires from Honda on this vehicle." And it's like a 3-day wait because we're busy. And the guy was like, "Well, I don't want these Nyla Grip Zappers because the internet has told me that they're not good and dangerous." And I will back that up. Nyla Grip Zapper
Yeah.
tires are not good and they are dangerous. But that's what you get from a bike that has a $600 retail cost in India. They're not going to put good tires on it. They're going to put homegrown Indian hard as nails tires on the bike.
Now, this is the Chinese scooter equivalent of the CST.
It is.
This is the
right.
cheapest homegrown.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody's ever owned an old 4-stroke Bajaj. This is what the first thing you did was change those tires.
And it is like the official goddamn 10-inch tire of India.
Yes.
Let's, for lack of a better thing, it's just what everybody uses because they're probably super cheap there. I'm going to guess they're probably about $4 a tire, right? That's not me being silly. That's
And that's
being
not the blems.
right. There are no blems, Chris. They're all not. If they make it out of the mold, they make it out of the factory.
They don't have to be round. They just have to be round-ish.
Yeah, and so because his dealer wouldn't give him the service he needed, he came to us. He asked, would we do that? And I said, yes, I'll be happy to do that. And I said, are you bringing your own tires? And he said, yeah, I am bringing my own tires. Well, what are you bringing? He says, Michelin City Grips, which around us, good. Well done. That's a great tire. By any standards, we're happy to install it. I should have gone a little further, though, because when he showed up, the tires that he brought were not the size that belong on that bike. And when we went back to the back and Tom's, mounting these up,
They would fit on the rims.
they did.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And they did keep the air in.
Absolutely.
Now, the problem was fitting on the rim and also fitting past the fender became an issue. And so much so, in fact, that I'm concerned that when a human being adds their weight to it and distorts the tire, flexes the tire a little bit, that it's going to be worse, not better. And the bike looked so fucking silly. The bike looked like you'd taken a Shetland pony and shoved it up the ass of a Clydesdale. Because the back tire was about 3 whole sizes narrower and smaller in diameter than it was supposed to be. Now, normally...
A squatted moped.
Oh, yeah, the normal tendency...
Oh, it's a Carolina squat knob.
Yeah, it was really bad. The normal tendency with motorcycle people is to put a big girthy motherfucker on the back and a little skinnier one in the front. I know that's what I did in 1975 when I was a kid. You put the chunky tire on the back, you put the skinny tire on the front. You look cooler that way. This thing on the front had a very chunky front tire on a much taller 12-inch wheel than the back's 10-inch wheel. So it further emphasized the size difference. All I can say is that front tire plowed such a furrow through whatever they were going through that the back tire never had a chance of hitting the sides. I promise you. The front tire is doing all the heavy lifting in that situation. The back is virtually useless. And I actually printed out a whole special disclaimer about I did something I wasn't supposed to do. I wasn't paying attention to any engineering or the manual. I made Phil do this. Their shop is not responsible for anything that happens in the rest of my entire goddamn life, even after I don't own a Navi anymore. And we did it under protest. And we made him sign it and leave a copy with us. Guys, I know that you have a lot of respect for the internet. The internet is a big place. And I know that doing your research outside of the internet can be scary. So you don't always have to have the internet holding your dick for you. It's a good idea to get several resources. What I can tell you is if the world of the internet would like to chime in to our podcast, ClevelandMoto@gmail.com, send us your thoughts and opinions. And if you'd like to tell us how we're wrong and how a 110 goes on the front but only a 90 on the back,
Let's hear it.
I'm listening, right? Because it looked craptacular. No test ride.
Oh, no.
No way in fuck are we putting
No.
any of us in jeopardy by test riding that thing. If you read it on a forum, please, 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 just like if the doctor told you had scrotacular cancer or something, get a second opinion. Because they are just your tires. That is the only thing between you and a fucking trip to the hospital. And I promise you, if somebody comes into my shop, I want you to be happy. I really do. I want you to have a good time. But there's a lot of stuff I say no to. And I tried saying no to this guy, and he was pretty fucking dedicated to the idea of having these mounted up. And it just got to the point where I was like, all right, at this point, I've given you all the warnings I can give you. I'm going to take your money now.
I mean, he could have sent him back.
What's that?
He could have sent him back. And
He
said,
could
"You know
have,
what?
John, the opportunity to extricate himself from this squirrel fuckery presented itself at least 3 times. He delivered himself well with all full warning into the maw of disaster. And at this point, okay.
If
All right.
he was a squirrel fucker, you should have hired him.
Yeah, I know. We handled that hallway problem in no time.
It would be interesting to see the person who told him to get those tires, and like they probably have a donk out in their garage. And they're like, "I like it this way. I want a big tire."
Is there a modern Navi for him? Like there's a modern Vespa?
Yes, I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it.
Robot told me.
Well, and you know, Tom was like, you know what? I could kind of see myself buying one of these.
Your Navi looks like a chopper now.
A backwards one, yeah.
No. If you do that 21-inch stupid thing, like the big Harley bikes.
When Tom said he's like, I could see myself getting one of these, I'm like, the fuck you say? Like,
I didn't say I'd
Those are
spend
the
money
best
on
bikes
it.
ever built.
Tom's like, well, they're for being a good cheap bike. I'm like, okay. In our current situation in the United States of America, economy be damned, that bike has been priced correctly in India. $600.
Doing something for thinking.
I think that's the right price for that bike for what you're getting. I think if you were a person in India, maybe you're an American person in India and you have $600 to spend, and opposed to renting a motorcycle for a given 10 or 12 day period, you could just buy a $600 Navi. And you could just abandon it there when you leave. And you'll probably have a great time. But compared to anything else, and I'm saying pretty strongly, anything else, this has a carburetor, this has drum brakes front and rear. It is put together by the lowest bidder with a Honda badge. You took the wheels and tires off, you put the wheels and tires back on. That is 1983 Honda technology.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
That's an NC50.
Do you think the metallurgy's gone up or has it gone down? Because I think it's gone down.
It's an NC50.
I think it's gone down. I think the metallurgy's gone down. I think the fasteners have gone down.
Well, that's $2,800. $200 more would get you an XR 150L,
Exactly.
and you'd have a lot more bike, and a lot more rideable.
That's
and
actually a lot better idea.
$3,000.
I mean, I wasn't saying I was going to spend good money on the bike.
What's that?
I'd
I
spend
thought the
six all
Navis
day.
were like $1,800.
So the Navis are, but the Navis fall into a very special place in the Honda MSRP pricing category. It's where the MSRP is $1,899. However, you're still going to pay Honda's $600+ destination fee. You're still going to pay their assembly fee. So we have seen customers at our shop with their out-the-door invoice for $4,200
On a Navi?
on a Navi.
Jesus.
Yes.
I mean, you could buy a Bieber for that.
The
Buy
point
two
being,
Sportsters for that.
we have a podcast listener who called in here to our podcast and said that where he was working, they were selling Navis out the door, final line on the invoice, over $4,200. But that's that difference between there's the MSRP and then there's everything else. Now, on some bikes, the everything else isn't so painful when you're starting at $22,000.
Sure.
But if you have the same exact everything else and you transport it onto an $1,899 bike, well, now that's a giant portion of the purchase price of the vehicle.
Yeah.
And we've had customers come into our shop. I personally have ended up with 2 Navis that were traded into our shop. And I made it very clear to the owner. I said, please bring your invoice in, because I don't want you going into this blind, because I'm about to tell you something that's going to piss you off. But when you bring your invoice in, I'm going to tell you that your trade-in value is based only on the MSRP of the vehicle. Your freight does not have a dollar value. Your assembly does not have a dollar value. Your destination charge, your paperwork fee. The particular dealer in question charged a $240 paperwork fee. Yeah, the dealer is going to make their profit even when the manufacturer gives them a shitty profit margin. And in the case of the Navi, Honda hasn't given the dealers, well, let's say it this way. The Navi might cost $1,899. And if the Navi costs $1,899 and it's got a 15% profit margin, well, how much money is that to the dealer? $300? I'm going to get $300 for spending 3 hours trying to get you to buy an ADV 150 or to buy, like you said, a CRF 150.
The XR150.
The XR150. So I'm going to spend 3 hours trying to get you to not buy the Navi. But your tight frog's ass is going to insist on buying the Navi. I'm going to make $300 as a dealership on you. That's the lowest profit margin I've ever seen on anything, and I know most Honda dealers I work with, that's the margin on a moderately priced helmet. So it's better to sell somebody a jacket or a moderately priced helmet for the profit margin they're going to make on an entire goddamn motorcycle. And now they're going to have to deal with warranty claims and everything else on this bike. So as much as I hate to say it, yeah, the dealer's adding all that grift onto the top of it. Yeah, that might just be some price correction so they can say, hey, look, that door's only going to swing 10 times this week. And every time that door swings, I'd like to make $700.
You know what else I was thinking?
Yeah.
I've never seen a bike that also is like the most beginner-friendly bike ever made.
Of
So
course.
I wonder how many come back just road rash and mangled from like everybody just screwing them into the ground because they've never ridden a bike before.
The first one that we took in on trade, the one that we sold at AMA Vintage Days in 1.5 hours,
the green
because the guy was literally said, how much do you want for that? And I said, $3,200. And the other buddy was like, yeah, but they're only $19.99 retail or whatever they were at the moment.
Yep.
And his other buddy went, no, you can't get him out of the dealership for less than $3,500, $45. You know, I was like, yeah, that he's right. Here's a brand new one with 150 miles on it, and it has a much bigger rear tire. The guy I bought it from had already changed the rear tire. So because his 320-pound ass realized the Navi wasn't working on the Nyla Grip Zapper tire it came from the factory on. So he already upsized the rear tire. We sold it like that. No problem. It's fine. Now, I'm not recommending anybody who listens to this podcast run right out and buy a Navi unless you've got a 12-year-old that needs to learn how to ride, in which case, probably the perfect bike. But there's also a lot of other bikes that suit that bill, that fit that category. Maybe even better. I don't know.
If you patrol like tennis courts.
Well, it seems to either be the like all the Grom guys kind of like jumped onto the Navi, which was weird.
Well, I think the idea was they finally found something cheaper than a Grom.
That's true.
But then they found out how terrible it was.
Look, if you have a Grom and you get a Navi, you're not feeling real good about yourself right now, because that's just not a great thing. People are like, oh man, they're really not as bad as I thought they would be. Yeah, because your expectations were literally trash.
Right.
You were expecting something with a Briggs 3 horsepower on it that said Monkey Ward on it, and you got something that actually had levers where the brakes are and stuff like that. But I'm not getting anywhere close to it. Sleepy, I was looking for some shock absorbers and shit for the front end of the Springer.
Yeah, I see
and
that.
I was going bonkers, and I'm like, okay, cool. And I kept finding it. I was like, okay, I'm gonna order these bushings for him, and I'm gonna order a shock absorber for him, and all this fun stuff. So Harley Davidson's shock absorber is it's not pretty. In fact, I'd say that it's just shitty looking. It's just one shock absorber.
Is that a Gabriel?
Didn't you say it's
a Monroe?
A Monroe-matic? It's like, but it absolutely, it's smaller than you think. That's only about 8 inches. Like 8 inches.
It's not even chrome.
We're guys. We have no idea what that means.
So what's funny about this is you immediately you go to the website and you're like, okay, I want to buy that. I want to buy a good product. I want to buy something that's factory OEM. I want to make sure it's going to give me a good lifespan. I don't want a piece of shit from China, whatever. And then you look at this fucking thing and you're like, yeah, it's from China.
Yeah.
That thing is obviously trash.
Dime City or any of the other places.
And it's $117
Yeah, they're crazy.
for, by the way, do you know?
It's just a dampener, isn't it?
That's all it is. It's missing the springy part.
Yeah.
Because the springy part is the outside part.
Yeah.
This is just in the middle of it all.
Yeah.
And it is a marvel of 1930s engineering that it works at all.
Right.
But the fact is that I was able to, with no difficulty whatsoever, find, like you were saying, chrome ones, and ones from Progressive, and ones from Dennis Kirk, and ones from many other manufacturers for not shitting us one half of the price.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, one half of the price. And it really does get into that kind of a thing where you're like, oh man, now you're starting to feel real abused. If you want to get all of the linkages and everything else, it's $123. But realistically, if you want it from anywhere except from Harley Davidson, they're $53.
Yeah, it's
you know, $53 for an actual real chrome plated one. There you go. But
Authentically chrome-plated plastic.
I would venture to say probably not.
Yeah, no, they're metal.
I would venture to say probably not. And the reason I would say that is whatever company makes
Yeah.
20,000 of these a year to go in the front of golf carts,
True.
they're not going to the trouble of making them out of plastic.
Well, I meant the cover. Like,
I mean, you all see what that is, right?
Yeah.
You all know that's a golf cart shock.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, that's a golf cart
It
shock.
looks like one of those hydraulic motor mounts, like in a car for like controlling the torque of the.
It is totally 100% a shock absorber for a golf cart. There's just, I know that whenever Harley spec'd that out the very first time, they were like, we're going to have some shocks made. And they went, you are aware AMF made golf carts for 1,000,000 years.
Yeah.
We have boxes of these already. And in fact, when we built the golf carts, it was already a Harley Davidson part number, right, from the first time around. Because they're, just never forget how big of an industry Harley Davidson is and has been in our country.
It's really funny because I finally ran across a Harley golf cart, and then I looked at the Harley golf cart, and then I looked at the topper, and I went, "Oh, they did just use the same Briggs motor." With
They
the
did. They did nothing to change it. Yeah, they said instead of 4 wheels, 2, or in Harley instead of 3 wheels, 2. So it was very funny going through it. I was kind of looking at all these parts, but it is very funny how opinionated Harley Davidson people are as well, because they're like, "Yeah, I made the mistake of using these bushings, lasted me 2,200 miles." And then the other guy's like, "Well, I use these bushings and I've got 130,000 miles on, and I've never replaced them. I just take them apart, lube them, and put them back together again." And I went, "Those are the ones I'd like, please."
Absolutely.
Yeah. We'll take some of those. So it is.
This is one of those instances where the internet does come in handy. Hey, look, I've got 130,000 miles on these. They're nylon. They work perfect.
I'm paying attention.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Right. That is always that
But
thing.
when one guy from Wisconsin says you should put a 90-90-10 on the back of your Navi,
Or
some advice.
right. But with every motorcycle that we own, I promise you, there's a forum somewhere for any bike that you ride that's going to have some guy that's a keyboard warrior that's got more keystrokes than miles, and he's an authority. He's got a little gold star next to his name or a blue check mark.
You also run the risk of running into one of those guys that like data logs his like washer thickness every day and then runs like diagnostics and stuff and then has like data, and like if you say the wrong thing in a sentence, he'll attack with all his data. It's insane.
Or somebody just trying to spoof you.
Right.
Yeah, you should put this tire on the front and this tire on the back.
You know, it'd be really funny.
He got his advice from like Whistling Diesel.
And so he shot it out of the cannon.
Yeah.
And that was it. And that was the end of the story. Good for everyone involved. Yeah, I don't have any questions about that. That's it. Today we were looking at tires for John's fucking Versys. And man,
I said I went over to my east side guy, and he's got takeoffs. When people come and get new winters on, he keeps the old.
Yeah, well, it was fun because he showed up, and the Versys doesn't exactly have your typical 180 55 17 on the back, right? Any other sport bike in the world is a 180 55 17. Pretty much all of them the same thing. 180 50 17. They're all kind of the same thing. John's got to have a 160 60 17 on the back, right? Just a little different. The front's straight up the middle, 120 70 17. You can get 93 billion tires for that. And John had found a good deal on some Shinkos, delivered to your door for $188.
Yeah.
Now,
that's front and rear.
Front and rear. 2 tires delivered to your door for $188. Now, I've got 3 different tire manufacturers that I deal with at my shop, and I have been dealing with one of them for 22 years. And I'm not going to say who they are, but their name rhymes with Farch Limited. And they will not do Shinko anymore.
Really?
Yeah. And I have another tire distributor that I worked with for a long time. And they're the second largest tire distributor in the United States of America. And they will not do Shinko anymore. And nobody there has told me exactly why they won't do Shinko anymore. But the 2 largest motorcycle tire distributors in the United States of America have both said, we're just not going to go there.
I think you're willing to read the tea leaves at that point.
I think so. I think at that point. Now, either John has just found some crazy tire pirate that took over a freighter with 93 million tires on it and is willing to ship those tires to John's door for a retail price of $100 on the back tire and $88 on the front tire, making no money themselves in the process whatsoever, simply out of the kindness of their hearts, or a Shinko at cost, so they're allowed to make a 30% profit margin. The back tire of a Shinko must cost, by simple math and understanding that shipping costs money, the back tire must cost about $50, and the front tire must cost about $40. If you're going to have a 30% profit margin for the guy who's selling them, and if you're going to put them in a box and send them, or put a piece of tape around it and send it.
With free shipping.
With free shipping. I do understand the way retail works. And unless Mr. Shinko himself is here in America selling those tires direct to John, which I know they're not because John is buying it from a distributor. So the distributor's beak has to get wet in there somewhere too. So now that starts to get into that situation of, if you want a $100 back tire that is being handled by the manufacturer who builds it, a distributor that's selling it to you, and then also moving it to you, what is the original production price of that tire? And then I always add that statement to it. When you got your Vader, your Boom Vader, what was it, $9.99 or something?
Oh, it was like $8.99.
$8.99. Tao, thank you. Your Tao Vader. And here's my point when people say, what a fucking deal. Sordic deal, can't beat it. You bought it from a distributor. Mm-hmm. Correct. The distributor bought it from the manufacturer. Mm-hmm. The manufacturer put it in a box and shipped it from China. Mm-hmm. Right? What do you think the clutch in your Tao Vader cost? What do you think the tires in your Tao Vader cost? What do you think the brakes in your Tao Vader cost? So that they could build an entire Tao Vader, sell it for $300 in China, so the guy selling it could make $100 or $200, and then the guy retailing it to you could make another $200, and put it in a box and ship it to you, and you'd arrive at $900. Mm-hmm. So if you take that all apart and you say this motorcycle has 900 core components, what is the cost on each component? And how much safety can you build into a pair of disc brakes for $1? Low. Really fucking low. And when we think about Chinese manufacturing, sometimes we have to build that into the equation. So when I think about tires sometimes, I'm a little nervous sometimes with things that I know exist, like the Nyla Grip Zappers and some of the Chinese tires that I've laid my hands on, that maybe some Slovenian tires and maybe some, how much money does it take to actually build a good tire?
The worst tire ever. Oh, sorry.
I was going to ask, what comes on the TNT?
Cordials.
Because those aren't bad at all.
They're Chinese. Yeah, they're Chinese.
Okay, they're not bad.
And I believe, hand to God, I believe those tires cost the manufacturer about $12 to $15 per tire for that 12-inch tire.
Oh, yeah.
I believe that tire has a real cost. If you said, I would like to order 100 of these, they're going to charge you about $15 a piece plus freight. That's what I think they're going to be. And that's completely wild-ass guessing my way through the situation, doing the same formula. I know what they cost me. I know what they cost my distributor. I have to guess what they cost the manufacturer because I can back off what they cost to ship. Mm-hmm. Right?
It's probably not. There's not even. You talk about cheap labor.
Yeah.
There's probably not even a hand that touches that tire, except some guy is loading material in a hopper, and there is a full. They just come out.
I'm sure that based on
hands only touch them when they're actually getting packaged.
Well,
or bailed
on the tires that came from your bike on your Kawasaki Versys. His bike came with Dunlops. Mm-hmm. From Japan. But how many miles?
4,000.
Right. So his front tire and his back tire are properly fucking worn out. They're not super dangerous. He hasn't gone to the point of showing cords yet.
You can still see a little bit of tread.
Right.
But it's through the tread in a couple little places.
But he's well past the safety bars. So he's well past the safety bars. On 4,000 miles, on a 650cc bike with a moderate
575-pound man.
But this comes to that thing we're talking about. Like, are those the tires we talk about that are manufacturer special tires? Because I've really never known a Dunlop Sport Max or Sport tire to only give me 4,000 miles.
No, but how old are they?
They are old.
Because that back when I used to do the sport bikings. If I had a bike I wasn't riding that often and it went a year or two, if it starts out kind of gummy,
Right.
And then you leave it there for a year or two, you come back, it goes away quick,
Yep.
man. Like
Yep.
it's not like it used to be.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So,
Well, those tires never struck me as soft compound tires, but maybe they are, and maybe that's why they wore out so fast.
and I also think it also could be the manufacturer saying we're going to save a little money on every one of the 93 million tires we're going to install by making these particular tires a little thinner. Maybe the tread's not as deep because these are an OEM model tire.
I will say that even when I got it and it had 1,700 miles
Yep.
on it, the tread, it didn't seem like there
Didn't
was
seem
a
real
lot
deep.
of rubber on it.
Right. And we've seen that with a lot of
And think
brand
about
new
it,
bikes.
They probably make them a little stickier so that like you're like, damn, this bike is good. It just hangs in the turns over there.
Well, Pete had a great take on this about the danger to the manufacturer of what would you say about a tire that's not as great that the manufacturer is putting on the bikes could backfire on them.
Well, if John's not satisfied with his 4,000 miles on his Dunlop, do you think he's going to run back into the dealer and say, I want another set of Dunlops or whatever the brand may be?
Yeah.
Versus, no pun, putting a quality tire on
Right.
from the get-go, and then the guy's going to come back and say, wow, those Dunlops really killed it. I want those same tires again.
Right.
Well, I was researching the Dunlop GPR 300,
Which is the cheapest.
Yeah, very
Right.
cheap tire, very affordable. And guys like them. They say they're pretty sticky and everything.
Yeah.
But the one guy was looking at his tire at 6,000 kilometers,
Right.
and it was gone. He was looking,
Yes.
which is what 3,000 miles, or
3,600, yeah.
The GPR 300 Sport Max tire, historically speaking, it's a great tire for people that are doing track days. For people that are looking for one tire that's good for a road riding tire, but also if it starts raining on you, you're not on a slick, right? Because most guys that are at the club level or just track day guys, they're not going to have a whole set of slicks spooned on rims so that they can run back to the track and have their reins and their slicks. They're going to have one set of tire that they're going to use until that tire's worn out. And the GPR has always been a tire that performed predictably, gave you decent lifespan on the track. You knew you could get a decent number of races out of it. And if it started raining out, you could run those tires just fine. They'd run great.
I run into the same issue.
front and rear was 214 or something like that.
Yeah.
I run into the same issue with the GS bikes with knobbies. I want to put an aggressive knobby on if I'm going to do one of the BDR routes, or I know I'm going to be in some muddy stuff. But you ride to South Carolina from here to get onto one of these routes. By the time you got there, half your knobs
burned up.
gone. So I've gone through knobbies in 1,500 miles before, and they might last 3,000 miles if you're only riding them in the dirt. But
Right.
it's like I say like tires are like shoes. It's like you gotta get the shoe that fits what you're doing. Are you want to do a marathon, or you want to go dancing, or you want to go mountain climbing? You got to have the shoe that fits the task at hand. And sometimes a super specialized tire just doesn't last. It'll do really well for a short period of time, but there's no free lunch. It's not going to do everything for you.
Well, I would have loved to have gotten like TKC 80s. I mean, originally I thought I was going to like put some block treads on it, maybe be doing some ADV riding and stuff. No way, man. That was a $500 proposition to start
Well,
with.
Shinko and Kenda both make knockoffs of the TKC 80.
Okay,
Exactly.
so I looked at the Shinko 804, 805. Problem with that is they didn't have a set that would match my bike. Like I could get the rear if I wanted to get a 170 60, I could put that on.
Right.
They didn't have a front that was a 120 70 17.
Yeah, right. 17. That's an odd
That's what
Right.
fucked me on that. So I was like, no, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. And really quick, and those were like 163 or 170 for the rear, and I think the front was actually more money for that. It was like 170 or
Yeah.
I found a different one where it was like, how is the front more than the rear? That was a weird thing.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. When you're looking at something and you're thinking, well, in order to make this formula work, you're going to buy the 804 or the 805 for the back end, right? But on your bike, 120 by 70 by 17, that's not going to work. So
I might have been able to get the TKC 70s.
Yes.
And
I never liked those.
Right.
I didn't like them either.
Right.
I won't buy something with if I'm going to buy something that has a diagonal tread like that,
Right.
I'll just put street tires on it.
Right. And, there are a number of different manufacturers now that offer adventure tires that do give you a more of an open block tread without spending a ton of money. But the manufacturers and the marketing department are very aware that adventure bikes are popular now, and they have become unusually expensive compared to other tires those manufacturers make.
I like the Anarchy and the Dunlop Mutant. I
Yeah.
really like that tread pattern, but again, those were not going to be.
And
that was
Mutants-
$400 or $500.
And Mutants came out of the hole expensive. They came out as an expensive tire. Yep.
Tractionator GPZ. Mm-hmm. Those are great.
Those are. I looked at those too, but again, you weren't going to get those for under.
no, they're not cheap.
And the other thing about the Tractionator is it's designed to give you these very thick, very heavy, long-lasting lugs in that tire. But we've had a lot of people come into our shop that don't actually get to ride the bikes out in the gravel and out in the dirt and out in the boonies. And that is a tire that will become a car tire in relatively short order.
Depends which way it goes.
Right.
Because if you put it the one way, it's like almost like 80% street.
Yep.
The other way's 50.
Flip it around the other way. It's designed to run on the points as opposed to running on the chevrons.
Right.
I ultimately just decided the Versys is going to be mostly a street bike. I mean, if I have to go down a dirt road on those, I'll just slow down. I'll take it easy. I will not try to go through any mud or anything serious like that.
And because
if I really want to go off road,
Yeah.
I happen to have a KLR 650. So, if anything, I would set that up with some
bring a different tool for the job.
decent knobbies on it. I'd actually go full blown. I'd like to really send that with even if I get. Well, I think
There's a lot of good tires available for that, and Tusk makes a decent tire. It's like a knockoff of a Dunlop.
Well, I like that. Like I think even it was Kenda, which I don't really want to get Kenda, but they make it's a knobby, but it's DOT. It looks like a motocross.
I took Liza's Benelli out with the Kendas on it, the Kenda big blocks on it, and it's like, and Sleepy's been to the warehouse a few times with me, and we know that we usually run that like the trench run on Star Wars, where we are going all the velocity that bike can go. And I made the left-hand turn in front of the Harley dealership yesterday, and I was flat tracking her because Kendas. So that Kenda,
They'll last a long time because they're made of wood.
yeah, it did not hold the road very well. And so I was just doing a normal left-hand turn, and all of a sudden the back tried to pass the front. And I was like, come on. I was like, oh, yeah, knobbies, dumbass, knobbies. I did get it up to an indicated 78 miles an hour on the way over there, yeah.
Extra 2 pounds.
An extra 2 ponies, extra two.
Is that from the width of the tire? Or probably the tires?
Who knows?
That little bit of the width, the height.
could be.
The height, not the width.
I have no idea, but I do know that I got to 78, 9-ish in a full tuck.
I had to be the tire.
Or it could just be the bike's broken in.
Well, you
that bike
changed the
did a
gearing.
lot of fucking laps.
Yeah, but you changed the gearing.
The tire did change the gearing. Yeah, that's absolutely true. But it was funny when I did some searching around that a lot of tires have become very, very expensive. Mm-hmm. But some of the stalwarts of the tire industry have held their ground. Do you want to know something that hasn't been affected by inflation? The Continental Conti Motion tire. The Continental Conti Motion tire has been completely unaffected by Bidenomics or inflation or anything you want, or
Are you
just
talking tire inflation?
I'm talking tire inflation.
They're still $32.95, just like they've been since
swear to God.
1973.
And 32 psi.
They're the dime bag still.
They are still a Diamondback. That Conti Motion rear tire, which I've had it's always been one of my tires where I was like, nobody can ever
It's like a pair of Converse All-Stars.
Exactly.
say what you will about Dunlop. Dunlop has come in and out of favor depending on who's riding GP, and some guy goes out and has a bad week and he goes, oh, so fucking tires, Dunlop, blah, blah, blah. And people are, oh, they're angry, they're this, they're angry, that. Man, Continental forced to do a recall of TKC 80s.
Oh, I loved it.
Free tires. Continental forced to do a recall of TKC 80. Did not impeach their reputation. Did not impugn their reliability by one fucking point. Everyone's like, Continental, goddamn good tire. What do you think about that?
On the contrary.
Continental, goddamn good tire.
I had a number of the tires that were affected by the recall I burned them right down to nothing. Then I took them back in because they would still give you the money. It
Have
didn't
to.
care if you took it back in brand new or you took it back in after you burned it up.
Right.
It's still good.
It's still the same exact thing. I'm going to buy you out of that tire.
I was buying them on Craigslist. Any place I could find them.
Any place you could find a living, breathing TKC 80. Yep, I turned a few in myself at the shop. But yeah, Continental is one of those things, and I just couldn't. I was laughing my ass off that. Conti Motions, no, same price it's ever been.
Pete was in a van. He got it down to 30 seconds. He'd jump out. The van full of...
I don't know what happened, man. I had some worn out TKC 80s on the back of my Triumph, and they're just gone.
Just gone.
Yeah, and he just left behind these Shinkos. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with these, mattress, whatever. I don't even know what's going on. But it did kill me how the Continental has held their own on that. And yeah, the Dunlop GPRs are still also the same price point. They're within like $4 of each other. But there are still tires out there for people who are budget minded and a decent tire.
I'm going to put a plug in for Bridgestone right now because I've been running Bridgestone Battlecross A41s.
Mm-hmm.
And they're a reasonably priced tire, and they have a rebate running right now. If you buy a pair of them, you get $60 back. So
Whoa!
I just ordered two, a front and a rear. You have to buy two at a time, or you have to buy a set, I should say, to get the rebate. It came in at like $220 or something.
That's a very good deal.
Well, I ended up finding a rebate with my local tire guy on a pair of Pirelli Scorpions.
He got a Pirelli Rosso Corso for the front. And then we found a Road Smart 2. So he's got multi-compound tires for the front and the back now. Yeah. So and a lot of our these got to go to Mid-Ohio pile.
Yeah.
So because I will not sell a tire that's over 5 years old.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to do it.
And we've got an entire rafter
We did.
full of tires.
And it didn't take me long diving up there.
Oh, no.
I was like, I know I saw a 160 by 60 by 17 up here somewhere. I just fucking know it. And eventually I found one. So, but it was cool. And those Rosso Corsa 3s are bad as fuck once they get warmed up. Those are a sticky tire.
I
It's a good
can
tire.
assure you they're going to be a lot better than what's on it right now.
Yeah, no shit.
Because I honestly, I wouldn't take that bike down there and try to ride that like with
Right.
those tires on. I wasn't kidding. I would take my Intruder. I would take my KLR. I would take something else, but I wouldn't take that bike with those tires.
No, and nor should you, because it's fucking sketchy.
The 2-inch strip down the middle that sticks up, and then it's like it's like riding a bicycle.
Oh, yeah.
I get that. Yeah, yep. We have one of our customers at the shop that's new to motorcycling, brand new to motorcycling, and he got a Yamaha R3 pretty cheap, right? And so he shows up, and he's the nicest kid in the world. I mean, just super good kid, and he just took his MSF course. And so his email to us says, "Hey, I took the MSF course this week, and I just realized how uncomfortable my Yamaha R3 is compared to every other motorcycle on the planet."
Yes.
He's a full-size adult. He's 6'1", 6'2", over 200 pounds. Because he's never ridden any other motorcycle than his R3 that he got gifted to him, or $1,200. It had been stolen.
Oh, it's still an R3 is a really solid bike.
Not saying it's not.
Yeah.
He's been walking around in a pair of size 10s, and all of a sudden he put on a pair of size 13s. He's like, wow.
Wow. Imagine that. Right. My mom told me I wore small underwear, so I've been wearing small underwear since I was 12. Yep. It's amazing how roomy they can be. So he's funny. He's like, oh, man. He goes, so riding other motorcycles.
They probably put him on a TW200 or something.
Yeah, whatever, right? Yeah. Or a Rebel 300 or something, right? But he's probably, for the first time, he's literally not touching his knees with his hands every time he turns left or right.
A grasshopper, right?
He goes, although it was gifted to me, the R3 was never my style. But this comfort realization has convinced me beyond doubt that I need to look for a different motorcycle. If you know of anyone looking to trade or have anything in stock, I am looking to make a 1-to-1 trade if possible.
Sleepy.
Little to no cash needs to be exchanged. I'm not sure how realistic that is. I just wanted to let you know I would be looking for a dual sport or a cruiser style, but just no more aggressive riding positions.
I know somebody who just so happens to have, what is that, a CB500X that's sitting in the front window?
Oh, yeah.
That is the
and he's a tall guy.
That is the absolute perfect bike for him.
That is a good bike for him. Yeah. That is a really good bike for him.
It's a great bike for anybody.
Oh, absolutely. I love those bikes.
And it will.
I'm not sure that no money will have to change.
Well,
There you go.
But
There you
this
go.
is a doable thing.
Oh, look, he got that R3 for free.
Yeah.
What do you want? Egg in your beer, right? Yeah. So I was pretty happy about that. I was like, gosh, that's all right. That's pretty cool. So yeah, that's all right. Pretty excited. Good for him. I was very much. He's one of the guys that came and he goes, I got a problem with my bike. He goes, my front headlights, one of my two headlights is just out all the time. And he goes, and I go to high beam, the other one comes on. I go to low beam, that one comes back on again. What does a guy got to do to have both headlights come on the same time? And I'm like,
Hold the button.
hold the button.
Yep.
Yeah, flash to pass would be a good way to start, I guess.
pass.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say I need help. The bike's stuck in my ass.
Oh,
He said he was a big
well,
guy.
I mean, when he first brought it by, he's like, I got it for free, and I don't know much about it.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, I'll go ahead and I'll take it for a honk and see how it does, right? And I took it around the block and rode it. It was fine. It was safe. It was good. And R3s are good bikes. There's nothing wrong with them, but they're a little crowded. And I brought it back and I was like, so this your bike, huh? Yeah, it's my bike. And he was super excited. So I didn't want to say anything about it negative at all because it's his first bike. Or like, let him just have his fun. Don't yuck his yum.
If you have no basis for comparison, you don't even know. You just think like
absolutely.
all motorcycles are uncomfortable or
Exactly.
something.
Right. Yeah.
They're
completely.
really great bikes if you're about 5'7".
Yeah, they are, and that's really the target audience. Is
Yeah,
that 5'7"? Yeah, that 5'7" person is probably the best.
Do you remember we did a shootout a couple years ago with
Yeah.
we had a KTM 390, a CBR 300, and then the R3, and we all rode them.
I
compared
think
and
John's butt
contrasted.
still hurts
The R3 was the least comfortable of those bikes, and even though it seemed
because
like
we did
you were
have a
going-
CB300 too.
I enjoyed the three. When I rode the CB300, I thought it was mundane and underpowered. Mm-hmm. And then I rode the R1, and I felt like it had power and stuff until I really looked at the speedometer, and it was one of those things where you feel like you're going fast, and and you look down and like, well, I'm only doing 50.
Yeah.
Whereas on the CBR, I didn't feel like I was really trying, but I was easily doing 50 and stuff. And so I would take the CBR.
CBR.
Not the R1.
No,
I said
that's
R3.
R3.
He said R1, but he meant R3.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine.
I was
that's
confused.
Good
Yeah, that kind of defines Honda though, is they're not really trying, but you're still doing 80.
stuff. Yeah, for real.
It was just ease of use. You
Yeah.
know, like they get slagged on for being mundane and everything,
Yeah.
but you're really getting the performance, and you just doesn't feel like you have to put all the input into it.
One of our podcasters is Kyle. Letters from the Peanut Gallery, Patreon member. He says, "Hey guys,
Hey, Kyle.
I remember a couple episodes back when you guys were talking about using a trailer with a hybrid setup to gain more mileage. This is, I think, you were. I think it was a Meckle Fresh
this
thing.
was the
to have an electric vehicle and then have a trailer behind
the
it.
pusher. Yeah.
Well, I was talking about like, well, why don't they just have a rear axle that you can swap out, or better yet, just have a little kicker that you can put in your receiver that a wheel goes down and you plug it into the car, and it's either it turns your car into a hybrid
or something.
Or if your electric car,
An
or you put a gas motor out there, and you can use it on your electric
Like an
car.
outboard motor.
Pusher. Yeah. Well, actually, that's exactly, and this is probably where
Hey,
he
wait,
said-
look everywhere. Chris woke up. Look at him. He's
Chris.
staring intently.
He put his glasses
You
on.
scratched his itch, Kyle.
Well, Kyle. So what Kyle says is he's figured it out. So there is a product, and the product is called the Pebble. And so the Pebble name is pretty innocuous. The Pebble.
I thought it said meet people.
It turns your SUV into a public school bus.
Well,
That's where you meet people.
It's true.
that's in the public school bus.
It's an actual powered travel trailer.
Yes.
Nice.
So now it is not going to drive itself down the road without your truck.
Right.
But but it's fun party trick. It's $1 million party trick is that if you tell it to hook itself up to the back of your camper or the back of your van, it does. It is very lightweight.
What if your family's in it? You could say unhook yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but here's the crazy thing about this bonkers. First of all, it looks cool. I mean, that's
Oh,
that's
dude.
neat looking.
I thought that was like a giant battery pack to take behind an electric car.
No,
It's like, why would they do that? They drag this giant battery.
no, it's a camper for you and your family.
So it's so you can drop your
But it does have a hybrid drive.
it's so you can drop
It's
your
a giant
Tesla
battery
across
pack.
country.
So what it has.
Well, we broke Sleepy.
What is Cinch thinking about?
Sleepy's just checked out of the world.
No, I just was totally wrong. I looked up and I was like, I thought that was a giant battery trailer. I'm like, what the fuck are they thinking?
Perspective is everything.
Perspective is everything, right? So the reason this thing is kind of funny, though, is, okay, you basically tell it to hook up to the back of your Class 3 hitch, and it hooks up to the back of your Class 3 hitch. And it just rolls its ass over there, and it lowers the tongue down onto the ball. And if you're parked in a shitty campsite and you don't like being camped where you're camped anymore, but your wife's got the truck down at the grocery store, you can just move your fucking camper all by yourself. And you can just walk it now. You're not going to get in and drive this son of a bitch. But you're literally, he's got a remote control in his hand, and he just...
Good grief.
Just literally drove his vehicle remotely hooked up to the back of his vehicle.
So for only the price of a house...
Oh, I'm sure this costs more than my house.
Oh, yeah.
I'm certain this costs... But, I mean, you see the roof is nothing but solar tiles and everything else, yeah.
And it has like Rivian taillights on
It does. And there is an image of it being pulled by a Cybertruck, which you know was like... They had a pre-order for a Cybertruck a
I just like how
long
they
time
always
ago.
show these like 30-year-old couples doing all this with all this
Right.
money. It's like just showing you your failure of your own life because you weren't doing this when you were
First of all, if you have 2 kids, you can't afford that shit at all.
Right, yeah.
Well, no. What they did was they moved out of California and sold the house that they inherited for like $27 million.
No, and they bought this.
And then they moved to like Utah, where property is like $1.50.
Right.
Well, if you watch that show on Saturday, he's a basket weaver and she
Right.
makes candles.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
So,
Yeah, but
No,
this
she's
is-
got an OnlyFans account.
That's how they can afford this.
Yeah, I'm gonna say she's making some real money. Yeah,
So Sleepy, we're starting your OnlyFans next week.
right.
You don't think I have one?
But I just was like, okay,
Obviously not.
so we're in Mid Ohio, we're camped up, and the whole deal, and the neighborhood gets bad. Fuck it, we'll just move.
Yeah.
just stand back.
I think that'd be great when everyone's in there sleeping. You get a hold of the remote. You just drive them away.
Oh yeah, pull them right up against the wall so they can't get out.
Yeah, you put them out on the track or something.
That's like one better than the old like putting the mattress on the dock.
Yeah.
Wow, scooter rallies would get really weird if we all had like
You put them on a ferry, they wake up in a different country.
I look at this whole thing. I was like, okay, that's it. But that is one of the shittiest part. And again, this is a single axle.
Yep.
So this is not going to be a hard thing to tow. It's going to be.
What's
pretty
this
easy.
unit run for?
Oh, I'm probably $90 million. I have no idea.
90 million.
I have no
But
idea.
just to be straight, I mean, I didn't get to read about it or anything, but that is a powered rear axle that can power you as you're going down the road. It's a kicker motor.
That's the thing is, it can literally assist your vehicle.
If you're going up a hill, it somehow is.
Yeah.
It has to must have some communication with the vehicle.
You
or
know it does.
Or unless it's just doing it off a tongue torque.
Well, look,
You know, like it tries to keep torque off, like weight off the tongue. It tries.
it's
to
the
pull it up.
opposite of surge brakes,
Yeah.
right? Surge brakes don't require any input from the vehicle in the front other than the tongue gets shorter. And when the tongue gets shorter, that pushes juice back to your brakes, right? That's all it is.
There we go. There are 2 versions.
There are 2 versions. Talk to us, Tom.
$109,000
Oh,
or $125,000.
well, there you go.
Get the good one.
Just a little bit of pocket change.
Just a little bit. Right.
What
For
do
a
we have
camper.
in the Patreon account?
Not that. Oh, boy.
So we're gonna up them numbers.
Yeah.
But you know, if I had enough money to buy that $80,000 Tahoe, I probably might have enough money to buy that.
That's the question, because you're still looking. Because I've been looking at RVs lately, and you're still looking at. Oddly enough, you get a 30-year on an RV if you can believe it.
Yeah, they mortgage them now.
Exactly. Because I kept looking at them like, how do people afford a $100,000 RV?
100,000.
Oh, yeah.
My friend, that is low.
Oh no, I'm saying just like the
The one that we rented to go to AMA Vintage Days in
Oh, yeah.
was $390,000.
Yeah.
Well, 80 of that was the porch.
I think another 20 of that was air conditioning.
probably.
Yeah. Because we were trying to break that air conditioning.
But I was,
Yeah.
I keep looking at this and I'm like, 30 years on a movable vehicle that after about 5 years is just going to have a leak in the back and everything's going to turn into crap.
I'll tell you what, though. Can anybody actually say they've lived if you haven't sat on a porch on an RV on top of Mid-Ohio with a
Air conditioning
cocktail
blowing on you.
with air conditioning coming from your back, overlooking the peons sweating and driving by on their bikes? Oh, my God. That was the best.
Yeah, that was pretty damn good.
Yeah, that was good, man.
Could you pass me another?
Right.
Oh, Johnny, I didn't see you there, my friend.
Can I have another ice cream sandwich, please?
Oh, sure. Hold on. Let me run to the fridge. We'll make up. Would anyone else like a frozen cocktail?
Yeah, right.
I don't think we're doing steak and lobster this year, guys.
Oh man. Yeah.
That was exactly what was happening. Though. And if I remember correctly, we did adopt accents.
And the funny thing was,
You said one glass
we
jar of
recorded
Grey-
in there.
Grey Poupon, you
And
were
I was
passing
like-
back and forth.
We have all 3 air conditioners going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we couldn't because it was 1,000 degrees outside.
It was so fucking hot out. And meanwhile, being in there, we're like, oh, this is lovely.
Yeah.
Should we go outside and take a lap of the swap meet? No.
Same shit. Same shit as always there. Fuck it.
No. We're gonna let it get a little bit toastier out there first. So okay, bonkers. We mini bikes, rah rah rah.
Yep.
Yeah. This is
I want that.
fucking weird, right?
When do you get your scooter?
What?
The scooter.
What scooter?
The Suzuki that you bought from Japan.
We're gonna talk about that.
Okay.
That's not a scooter.
We're not there yet.
That's a full size motorcycle.
You.
It's like
Shitting on my SW1. Yeah, exactly. What the hell's going on here, boys? What is this thing?
It looks like a Mad Max Interceptor meets, I don't know.
It's 150 cc's. We know that.
I want that.
It has a picture of a panda on the gas tank.
I like that.
I like
Right?
this.
I love the front end. I love the nose and the ridiculous body kit. The two-tone brown saddle might be trying too hard.
It looks like it's like a amalgamation of
mean,
Megaforce
Yeah.
and something else.
All right, I know.
And the
I know
new
I'm,
scooter Rescue Rangers.
I know I'm
Yeah.
50, but are we now doing Cyberpunk meets Cafe Racer?
I think so.
Are we in Cyberpunk?
And the solid wheel
Okay.
discs, right? The
Yeah.
fake solid wheel discs. And you're right, Megaforce. There's 6 pieces of plastic on this bike that don't do anything.
Yeah.
They don't do anything at all.
It looks cool.
7,
It
they're
does.
reflectors.
It does look cool. And this falls under the category
it
of
does something. It adds
Right.
to the aesthetic.
men of a certain age will sit and look at this and go,
It's kind of like the Star Wars bikes, and it's kind of
You know what? I got it.
You
when
got
you
it?
go to the big gun shows,
yeah.
and you got to get around, and you're
Yeah.
one of those dudes who dresses military-ish. You know, this way you can, instead of using your jazzy scooter, you roll
This is
this.
1980s Megaforce where they were wearing spandex.
Right.
Yeah.
They were
you
wearing
kinda really
spandex with a
if
gun
you're
belt,
riding-
very Buck Rogers.
If you're riding
Yeah.
a jazzy scooter at a gun show, you're having to ride a jazzy scooter
Yeah.
at a gun show.
When this
Meal Team 6 is not going to skimp
and
out.
because this is from the same design ethos of the people that brought you the Papio, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
get that.
It does have kind of a modern-esque dustbin is what I'm getting.
You know,
out of
we
this.
need.
So this
more
is the naked version.
That
There's the
I can
naked
work.
version.
I can deal with that.
Right? There's naked
That's a
version.
Honda monkey.
That's totally a
Oh, yeah.
that's totally a 150 monkey right there. That's what we're looking at is a 150 monkey with a really trippy headlight. I like that
But
front headlight
That is a vertical motor,
circle.
isn't it?
That is a vertical motor.
Yep.
Is it?
Yeah, which means probably a 10,000 RPM red line if we know who it's coming from.
Oh, there you go.
Well, there's Monkey.
Well, there's the monkey with the horizontal motor, but then
That's the one you were all...
Sleepy's.
Dual headlights.
That's the Papio.
Yeah.
That's the Papio.
How much fun would it be to chase each other around on those?
Yes. 100%.
This is nothing
Oh, yeah.
but
Just in bear costumes.
what would they call the banana splits?
Yeah, exactly.
This is banana splits action right here. This is it. That's all this is. There's nothing about this that isn't just in the category of silly fun. Now, I do tell you that I think this is better than the Papio.
I mean, it's right there. Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
think
both
this
pretty
this to me
badass.
is a little more interesting
This
than
thing's
the
not
Papio.
only going to appeal to like old men at gas stations, it's
Yeah.
also going to appeal to like 6-year-olds. They're going to be like, "That's the coolest thing ever."
Right. So you're never going to get out of the gas station.
Yeah, exactly.
You're going to get hijacked.
That's when you tell them like, "Hold that thought, I'll be right back," and then you just drive off.
Fuck off.
But what's going to make or break that is the quality of that plastic. Because
Right.
if it was like my Tao plastic, it's already broken.
It just shows up broken.
The quality of Chinese plastic seems to have gotten a little better. So
No,
had
some
to.
companies.
It had to.
Like Tahoe is
Oh, yeah,
made of
Tao's horrible.
It's a dust that they must pour
Yeah.
liquid on that hardens it,
Well, the
but it
original-
doesn't get all the way
the
through.
original
it
CF
sometimes.
Motos, if you pushed them too hard, they would crack and
shatter,
happen.
just
Yeah.
crack. And so, well, not just China, because
just China.
every Italjet, the second you
Oh,
breathe
God,
on an
yes.
Italjet, any Italjet ever made, I don't care what it was.
Find me.
You're like, oh wait, I'm just gonna adjust the license plate bracket and break the whole back of the bike off. You
Found me a
fucking
Formula
trash.
50 L. Number one, found me a Formula 50 LC.
Slide back on the seat too far. Back of the motorcycle just breaks right off.
It was made of papier mache.
Papier mache. The Papio is made of Papio mache.
had that one, and literally you would touch the side panel and it would
just
crack.
break. Just garbage. Every Italjet that arrived for us arrived with broken panels. Yeah, they didn't survive shipment. Yeah, that was pretty fucking hideous. So yeah, I thought that was worth bringing up just because it's fucking adorable.
You know, I'm digging on this whole
I love it. It's got a panda on
this
it.
whole mini bike culture that has
Yeah.
popped back up again.
Pretty happy with it. Yep.
No,
Yeah.
this
Well,
is
it's men, like you said, men of a certain age. We
This-
grew up like lusting
This-
after like
this brings
little
joy.
mini bikes.
does bring joy.
Do you think? Do you think that like the Harbor Freights and the tractor supplies and stuff are going to be the saviors of our youth by having these mini bikes available to them?
yeah.
That they see in the parking lot. So a kid's with his dad's going to get some chicken feed, and he's like, "Oh my god, a mini bike! What is that? I want that."
I'll
Right?
tell you, there was one that came ripping down my street today. You know,
yeah.
out in the cornfields of North Ridgeville. There, I hear like a Briggs type motor coming down the road. I look outside, and there's this kid about 10 years old just coming right down the street in the subdivision, and I was like, "Good for you, kid."
Just fucking ripping it.
So Piper was riding her quad. It made me proud. She started fucking around with it. She's like, it looks weird, and she wanted to move it. She said it looks sad, just pushed over there by the fence, and she wanted to like roll it, like kind of stance it a little bit. And
Right.
I'm like, well, you're gonna start it up and run it. I mean, I'm fired up. So we started it up, and then she started doing some laps and then figure eights, and so she ripped up the backyard a little bit. I was so happy, and she's like,
you go.
do you think I could ride it down the street or something? When do you think would be the right time for me to try to rip it down the street and back? And I said, anytime I'm not here.
Anytime I'm not
Get
here.
your helmet.
But I would suggest maybe like wait till right at as soon as it gets dark.
Right.
Like
Probably
just-
the best idea.
Just after dark,
Oh,
and take it up and down Bell a couple times.
Right.
It'd probably be
wait a
fine.
minute.
Wait, there's something. Did your bike got a tumor?
Don't pay attention to the site.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing is this video. Invariably, if you do a search for Suzuki SW1, this particular video is going to show up with the world's most inappropriately mounted California sidecar.
Yeah.
Look at that.
People who know about sidecars know that's mounted wrong. But not to get in too big of a kerfuffle about it. But yeah, so
Why is it on the wrong side?
well, Japan.
Yeah.
Japan. So, but it's just a bad install. It's a bad mount. It's not wide enough. The
close.
track is wrong. It's got multiple issues.
Probably for going down certain roads. You know what I mean? Like they probably have narrow roads.
No, they just fucked up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There's
I was trying to give them the benefit.
there's
of
a-
the doubt.
We're not making excuses for
It
this
just
anymore.
shouldn't be on.
there's people taking a Vespa right now, putting the Vest bar. They're putting a bar next to a Vespa, like a little cooler thing next to a Vespa. And I found the company that does it. They're Uzralistan or something, and they're taking a real Vespa and they're molding a beer cooler onto the side of it. But its sidecar wheel is only about 24 inches away from where it is, so it's nice and small. It's designed for golf courses, to be able to run the beverages out to the guys out on the links. Right? It's pretty cool. But anywho, that's not why we're here. We're here for this. It is all of the fucking weird, right? I mean, that's what it does. It's a weird bike, the Suzuki SW1. One thing that I can tell you about
I'll take some sort of beer, Chris.
the Suzuki SW1 that I could not tell you
It doesn't
yesterday
Even matter. Sorry.
was that the Suzuki SW1 is now in the United States.
Yay!
Yay! There was much rejoicing.
It made it under that bridge over there in Baltimore.
Well, fortunately, it went in. It's in Tempe, Arizona, so it went took the short ride probably across to L.A. or San Diego.
It's just their Tempe area. Tempe area.
Or it could be, you could call it Mesa if you want, or Phoenix. It's all the same neighborhood. But I would like to, so it's there. I have to go get it. Or I have to pay money to have it shipped here. One of the two. And going to Phoenix, right meow, is not really the best thing that I can
Well,
do.
you and Renee just had that conversation, actually.
Well, we looked at the finances.
But apparently going to Vegas is.
Going to Vegas is one thing. That's fine. Cleveland to Vegas is always between an $80 and a $200 ticket. Round trip.
Yeah.
Leaving Vegas and going to Phoenix or Mesa or Tempe, whatever one you choose.
Tempe aerially.
Yeah. That's not a $200 round trip ticket. That becomes spendy. And then once you're there, you have to buy something to put the motorcycle in.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I'm going to be driving a 250cc single cylinder belt drive motorcycle the 2,000 and some odd miles to get back home again. Probably not my move. But it is fun that it's just nice to know that it's here. And phone calls have been made.
Looks like a scooter to me. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I know,
That's
it's
fine,
got
John.
gears and everything.
That's right.
What's going on?
You can't.
I think you're.
Can't touch the microphone.
Well,
Every week.
maybe not the cable.
Yeah, the cable.
Right. Maybe not the cable. Right.
They're
So,
microphonic.
frunk. We have a frunk. There's a frunk. Frunk action. And you'll notice in the frunk,
Junk in your frunk.
you got trunk in your frunk. You've got a small flashlight. You got barnoculars. You've got a
sorry.
compass
I
and a
have-
flask.
I have funk in my frunk.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, man. You can say they're not cool. On my NC 700,
Yeah.
that frunk thing was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Frunk is awesome.
It's the best thing.
I like my tank lock bag. I mean, just having that bag right up front there where you
Yeah.
can put your keys, wallet, sunglasses,
Oh, yeah.
maybe a beverage, something like that.
It's got a
right in front of you.
side trunk as well.
wow, yeah.
So side trunk as well. So just
That's a strunk.
that is a shrunk. There were 800 of these built.
800?
800.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So John used to say there's no such thing as a rare Honda.
There is such a thing as a rare Suzuki.
Suzuki. Yeah, there is a rare Suzuki. They built 800 of these.
It's like the Nissan Figaro motorcycles.
It is.
that doesn't even make sense.
Right.
I'm
They
sure
made a lot more Figaros.
the tooling probably cost more than.
Oh, this is a loss.
Yeah.
This is an abject loss.
How many in the United States of
I have
America?
no way of knowing.
But
Right
how
now,
much-
I can tell you one. I can guarantee one.
Have you ever seen one here?
No.
How much of the drivetrain is proprietary to just this model?
I don't know, but it's fucking weird. It's belt drive.
Yeah.
So it's a belt drive 250, which means it's not the same as a TU 250 or anything else.
Well, if that belt goes bad, you can get one on Amazon.
Yeah, right? Uh-huh. So,
Just go to your auto parts store and use the belt stretcher thing.
yeah, that's right. That's all you got to do. I'm sure it'll be real fucking easy. Yeah. Anyway, so that's in America now. So that's there. I just got to get my ass out to Phoenix and get it. Or get
know
it
what's
here
funny?
from Phoenix.
Like looking at that picture right there, right?
Yeah.
Like every aspect of that bike looks like it was an original mold. Like the side panels, the gas tank, the frunk. Everything.
Yeah, they didn't share anything
Nope.
except for the controls.
And then the mirrors.
Right.
They were like, grab the thing off the
yeah.
the VT 1100 and just slap the mirrors on.
They're oval. Put them on. Yeah. This bike is an exercise in ovals.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is. And what's funny, too, is twin exhausts.
Yeah.
That's completely superfluous. There is no reason for this motorcycle to have twin exhausts. The only time you can see both of them at the same time is when you're behind it.
Right.
Right. Yeah. It's just a weird fucking bike. Yeah. It's just such a weird bike. But anyway, I've wanted this since the very first time I saw one in a magazine.
It's got a lay down-ish. No, it doesn't.
No, it's upright.
Upright,
Yeah.
okay.
It's upright. You can see the exhaust header hiding back there.
Oh,
but
yeah.
But yeah, it's just a very weird bike. Yeah, very strange motorcycle.
Oh, it is based off the GN 250.
Yeah. Yeah, it's GN 250. It's got the same twin exhaust headers. It's that's
Well, that's good. it's
that
not-
part of it is a motor we know.
Yeah.
Right. But I did not know Tom, you got the research. Were GN 250s ever belt drive?
No, I think this is going to be the only thing that's going to come. Well,
Yeah, because if you can find a picture of a GN 250
there was a
or
weird...
a TU 250 or a TZ 250 or a
No,
GZ
but I'm
250.
going back to like that. Dean Middleton had this weird thing, And I think it was a Suzuki or Kawasaki that was belt driver 250.
Well, there was a Kawasaki 305 was belt
I
drive.
think that might be
Yeah,
what
that's
I'm thinking
not
of.
uncommon at all. They made a shit ton of those.
And I think there was a weird period of time where the Japanese tried to adopt belts, but they realized it was dumb.
Yeah, tell me again how dumb that is, Tom. And I will list you
I know.
100 great motorcycles that have belts
Actually, the first time
that require no adjustment and no maintenance.
We talked about Zero with that itty bitty skinny little belt. You were like, no, that's super strong.
V30 Magna belt drive.
Right. Yeah. In fact, I'm going to give you
Hardly Dougalson's.
right. No shortage of BMW Fs or Cs that came with belts. Right. Yeah, because it turns out belts are actually a really good way to make a motorcycle
How
go
often
down the
do you
road.
have to oil and tighten a belt?
Oh, that would be never. Yeah. I'm sorry. And what's the
don't
what's the
know.
lifespan of a
I
belt?
constantly had to adjust those damn big dogs. I hated that. It was that was
Okay.
an allergy.
All right. The yeah lifespan of a belt's an average of 30 to 40,000 miles. So yeah, belts are pretty cool. Belts are all right.
Ask any Bergman owner.
Ask anybody. Well, I mean,
Well, every 6,000 miles, you have to replace the CVT. So.
right. Yeah, CVTs are a little different. Yeah.
6,000 miles.
Depends on the CVT. Yeah. Yeah, it is weird, but I've seen certain
Motorcycles aren't that far.
right. Well, again,
Mine still is.
anybody who ever got into motorcycles and said how cheap it was going to be,
No.
right? Or, think all the money I'm going to save by getting 80 miles per gallon or 60 miles per gallon. No, I promise you, you haven't done a valve adjustment in a car in 30 fucking years.
That was a conversation
Right.
I had with my brother. I mean, he's got a CRF 300. And he's like, I'm getting 67 miles to the gallon. This is cool. And I'm like, but he's like, I wonder when I'm going to have to change tires. I'm like, probably 6,000 miles. He's like, oh.
And you start adding up what you invest in your gear and stuff too. It's like, holy shit, yeah. It's not an economical choice.
Our buddy Stan, for years, said if you're riding a motor scooter because of the money that you're saving compared to $4 a gallon, you will have to put 200,000 miles on that scooter to break even.
Challenge accepted.
Based on your helmet, your jacket, your gloves, your increased maintenance costs, your tires, and shit like that. Whereas if you already have a car that gets 25 miles to the gallon, just keep driving the car. Yeah.
And car tires are cheaper than motorcycle tires. Now you need 4 of them, of course.
Right,
But
yeah.
they last 60,000 miles.
Exactly.
It's cheaper to keep tires on a car than it is to keep tires.
It
on a
certainly
motorcycle.
I think for him, though, it's going to work out a lot better because, I mean, he's got a V8 truck. He's got a Jeep. Nothing he has gets great gas mileage.
Yeah.
And he's going to run that thing, and he'll run those tires down till they're bald before he buys new ones.
And it's also the law of averaging.
Yeah.
So if you have a truck that gets 15 miles per gallon and you add something to it that gets 60 or 70, now you're splitting it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a
That-
pretty good way to do it.
That would be it. That's the Savage.
Yeah, Savage.
The Savage had a
Right.
belt.
Savage had a belt.
And if you're just going to fire it up just to take a quick ride here or there, it's not even worth firing up the truck.
No.
Plus, it's just great. I mean, it's getting him out of the house. He's been back road blasting that thing, and it's gorgeous roads down where we grew up. I didn't really quite appreciate because I'd always been driving around at night drinking beers with my buddies,
You had no idea.
doing the old back road roller coaster ride and everything, and then to actually go out on a motorcycle and go back all those roads.
These
that
are
I
good roads.
I'm like, wow, this is beautiful. It's like North Carolina back here.
Damn. All right, we'll plan that for a
That's
couple
pretty
weeks.
cool.
Easily, we could camp out of my brother's house.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I'm in. That's perfect.
So did you guys go to the Facebook links to see that Yamaha MT-09 has won a prestigious design award? If the design award was for looking the absolute most like something from the Matrix, they nailed it.
Where is the motorcycle in that picture?
Well, you got right. I think they're focusing the entire design award on that headlight or lack thereof.
Isn't this the one with the weird exhaust too?
It's got a lot going on, this
These are
particular
like spy
motorcycle.
photos. They don't show the whole thing.
They
at
don't
once.
The
give you
exhaust
that-
looks like a Ford F-150 gas tank. underneath it.
MT-09.
The MT-09. So it is getting a lot of attention. The MT-09 has had a facelift, and the people have agreed they generally like it. They really do dig the new aesthetic, the new look of the MT-09, which is cool because the MT-09's been around for a little while.
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking about how much we liked the MT-09 about 10 years ago, and it's been kind of hanging around. I have not seen one in person yet with the new, the new fascia with the new front end. But apparently,
MT, is that a 3 or a 4-cylinder?
it's a 3-cylinder.
It's an FZ09.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I hate that
Yeah.
fucking motor.
There we go.
I hate it.
That's what
a
I.
terrible
Tell us how you really
fucking
feel.
motor.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Show us on the dull where it touched you.
No, dude, I mean, listen, man. I guess some people don't mind, but I thought it was just mine until I traded the guy and I tried his too. Between 38 and 4,700 RPMs, that thing has a vibration it ruins the whole ride. So you either have to stay above 5K, or I mean, I guess you just stay above 5K because it doesn't have anything below 38. But like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it was a
So
terrible fucking motor.
that motor, just to you, it doesn't feel like there's any grunt there at all.
Not
It's-
down low. I mean, it pulled like a racehorse. I mean, okay. It's a very powerful motor. It's fast. That bike was a 150 mile an hour bike, probably more than that if you really wanted to go faster.
Right.
But for cruising, for when you're not hammering through the twisties,
Okay.
and you're just slabbing it,
Yeah.
that normal like 3,800 to 5,000 range that you're usually in, that just had some weird frequencies through the motors that would just fatigue your wrists, fatigue everything. I tried risers, things, and it got it down. Like it was the vibration of the motor.
That's what did it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I did not like it.
So this won an award?
Yeah.
This won an award from who?
From some design house, from somebody who looks at things for a living.
Ah, gotcha.
From somebody that says, I like to looking at things, and this is something that I like looking at.
Gotcha.
I've got awards.
Did they look at the MV Augusta first? And they
Well, there's been no
because
problem.
I'm sure somebody there did too.
Right.
The
There's
award
been no
was granted
problem.
by the Yamaha School of Design.
You know what would be really nice if we made the MV Augusta Brutale?
Do you know what's funny is
Yeah, that's that exhaust. Look at that fucking exhaust underneath there. What the fuck is that? It looks like it's got a clubfoot exhaust. Or something.
So obviously, don't go to this design school.
club footage.
You know what? This looks really great.
You know, it looks like a Tesla truck under there, a miniaturized one.
Nah, this at least wouldn't rust, and probably can go through a puddle without frying itself.
It's got a cankle for an exhaust.
It's like an elephant's leg, like a hippopotamus's
Yeah, or an
leg.
elephant's dick, kind of. Like it's just long and clubbed up. You're right, though. It is kind of a club foot.
As you can tell, we are not sponsored by Yamaha.
Not
Or if you look at other pictures, it looks like a fucking F-150 gas tank. It's like a big.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. There's no flowing anything.
right,
Yep.
right. So, but it won a design award. So that's exactly
Obviously
it.
design.
I wanted to see.
My buddy at work,
really
we
did-
argued about it back and forth. He's like, "But that's what kids like. They like." I'm like, "They like the look of that exhaust. Get the fuck out of here." That's
Kids like hockey. And kids like monkeys.
Yeah, I
Kids don't like whatever the hell's
Maybe,
going
you know what? I bet you AI voted on this. Like
Exactly.
the Borg was like, that is a fine looking
that's a
motorcycle.
fine looking motorcycle.
on. What if we made the Brutale ugly?
It does. The muffler though, the muffler under there does look like they just gave up all hopes.
Yeah.
They just gave up all
Well,
hope.
I mean, if you were designing a muffler just for the United States, you probably would just go, you know what? Fuck it. Americans are stupid anyway.
It almost looks like the exhaust from a helicopter.
That makes the
flipped
exhaust on my riding tractor look beautiful.
It definitely falls into that camp of being like, yeah, that's something there. It really is.
They really put a muffler on there.
But
It
you know,
really did.
all these modern bikes with like the little stubby ass ends and everything and the angles, everything like that. When you see like a good sport bike from the 90s or 2000s when they had like a good looking butt on them and they're like kind of thick and fat.
Sleepy likes the ass.
Dude, there's just something about them. I guess it's nostalgia, but they just look so good compared to this.
Don't worry. Give it 10 more years. That's what everybody's going back to. And we're seeing it now with the mini bikes.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that is
in
true.
about 10 more years, it's going to catch right back up.
Yeah, there are some bikes that were just kind of they just didn't catch, right? For lack of a better term. I had a Hornet 919, and I've been trying to get another one ever since because I made the mistake of selling the fucking thing.
Yeah, good bike.
And having a Hornet 919 was bad because I was like, I always wanted one, and I got one. But then somebody came into my shop before I could even put 500 miles on it and was like, I'll give you $6,000 for that. And I was like, I just paid $3,000 for that. Fuck
Okay.
yeah. You know, that bike grew wings.
I had my
I'll go buy 2
599
more.
for a month.
Yeah.
And I didn't, it wouldn't mesh in New Orleans. But the second you got it on an interstate, it was a great bike. In New Orleans, I was going to die.
I honestly, I loved I love the 911 or 919. I liked it on the freeway. I liked it on the fucking slug down Lake Road.
Let's all go buy one right
felt
now.
great.
Let's have a
You can't really find them. They've all been beaten to death.
It is a bike that people did like to crash.
Yeah. Because there's this, and there's Suzuki or something that's very close in design.
No, a Bandit 1200.
Bandits.
Yeah.
No, well,
If
kind
it's
of. But there's
got-
another bike I'm thinking of the back of my head scratching. I'll find it later.
Okay. All
What
right.
was Nick?
There was a
Nick-
design for like 5 years.
Oh,
A
damn
couple
it,
of bikes
fine.
look like this.
Yeah.
Well, the SV650s look like that.
Well,
Yeah, but it was another 4-cylinder though.
yeah. Well,
the
Honda's-
GS
Well, the
The
FZ01 is
No,
a 4-cylinder.
The Suzuki was the GS550E looked like that. It wasn't the fairing one. It was the thing.
It's right back because I've worked. There was a guy I knew. There was a guy I worked on for years. I kept his going. I worked on a Bandit 1200 that looked exactly like it too, and they're great.
Look at an FZ1.
yeah.
No, that too. Yeah, FZ1.
but theirs are more upright.
Well, it had a fairing though.
This is pretty upright.
When,
They're kind of like a naked sport bike, but not because they've got the single spine frame down the middle.
Okay.
yeah, that's
But
and it's
I'll think of it in a minute.
Okay.
Okay.
yeah, that's there's definitely enough bikes out there that follow in that, but I have to say there's been a thing when Honda came out with that CB650. John, do you remember?
Yeah.
When
I
that
just saw one
650
in the
came
wild
out-
the other day.
Did you see one in the wild?
Yeah.
That-
They look so small. Piper was like, what is that? Is that I'm like, that's oh no, that's the CB. And I think they're calling it a CBR.
It's a CB650R.
CB650R,
is what they're
yeah.
technically calling it. And it is, damn it, it's a good looking bike too. And that's another one that it just feeds into that whole.
If you like to see the exhaust, a 4-in-1 exhaust.
That's what it is.
It's
I
got
think
great
that's what it
exhaust.
is. I think that's just what it is.
If
think
you
it's
want to
just-
see the organ pipes coming down.
I think that's really all it is. I think all I'm thinking about when I look at that bike is just those fucking pipes. And I think maybe that the rest of the bike could be anything in the world, but
But you know, we're raised on that air. We, the 4-in-1 header on a KZ 900 or a CB 750.
Right.
Those 4 pipes coming down, that really said something.
yeah, it did. It did. And I think it probably touched us in all of our no-no spots. That it is. I mean, it's a good looking bike too.
That's my yes. Bob.
Yeah, I think so, right?
Yeah, speak for yourself. I don't have any no spots.
Cleared
might
that up
have
on
a-
my first day of the Army.
You might
But-
have an oh-no spot.
Yeah. So that could be it. And it's funny because, again, there aren't too many pictures of this motorcycle that aren't from this one particular angle, because that's kind of its party piece, right? Because I still don't know what the back of this motorcycle looks like. I don't think I've ever seen it.
It's the Zephyr. I've been
Yeah.
trying to think of the Zephyr.
The Zephyr, right? Yeah, the Zephyr.
Oh, that's a Kawasaki.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I
Yeah.
could remember.
Right.
Was
But it's the
something-
idea is it's a standard.
Yeah.
It's a tuned down, for mid-range sport bike
Yeah.
with four across the rails, right? And so yeah, maybe that's it. But I think that I might have to have something like this, and I also another CB 919 might have to find their way into my house. Another Hornet. Just because I fucking
You're horny for a horn.
I just can't believe I let that fucking thing go, and I probably shouldn't have.
Phil, you do like money though.
Mr.
Yeah, but-
Mr. Greedy.
Yeah, right.
I'll tell you what. You give me a down payment and let me put 1,000 miles on it, and then you can have it for $599.99.
It's tough, man. Right, because the Hornet doesn't have a bad angle. It's a good looking. And even when people took the stock, horrible, ridiculous 400-pound exhaust off and put on some aftermarket slipperies, then it was nice. It's still a good bike. Nothing wrong with it. But yeah, that's one I've been kind of keeping my eye on. But damn it, Deus Ex Machina, God from the Machine, right? They're selling off some of their shit, like their stuff, their party bikes that
Oh yeah.
that are just.
Did those all end yet, or are they still running?
I don't know. It's the news is about 3 days old, but these are all the bonkers bikes that they built. I mean that R19 right there is pretty sexy.
That Montesa you posted earlier, or the one before this looks just like a Montesa.
Right. Yeah.
So these are all in Australia?
I would assume so. I would make although they have chapters everywhere, right? There's Deus is just about everywhere, but Yeah, it is. It's fun to know that like all these things that they've had hiding around their various different showrooms are
When
being
I first saw
offered
that
up.
picture, I thought it was a zero until I saw the exhaust.
Yeah, it was. It's the Zero Super Trap edition.
What's a Husqvarna or KTM or something like
Something
that?
like that.
That looks like a KTM, doesn't
That
it?
flat tank and
Yep.
that flat seat.
Yeah, but it's just cool looking stuff. Yeah, really cool looking stuff.
That looks like
I'm
an
a
old
big fan.
Mako or something.
Well, that's
right
what I'm
there.
saying. It looks
Does,
like one
doesn't it?
Tessa,
I love
but
the look
it's-
of that. Yeah, I like everything about that, and that's a Fantic. So
That tickles my fang.
doesn't it? Yeah, that motorcycle right there is just a good looking fucking
So
motorcycle.
what are they asking for that bike?
I am scared to find out. They said prices are less than you might even think, but I'm sure
I mean,
certain they're way more than I think.
I looked at 3 bikes in that cafe in Tokyo, and it was like 5 times what the bike
Yeah.
is worth, in my
Yeah.
opinion. But
because it's been breathed on by Montesa, God forbid, right?
Do you think kids like this shit? Like the Buscadero. The reason I
Right.
bought it is because it looks like that, right?
Right.
And I'm also a 53-year-old man. Like, is a kid buying? Like, do they think this is cool, or they only think the new shit's cool?
I don't know. I honestly have no idea. I'm so detached with what a person that's under 25-year-old thinks of anything that my opinion is no longer valid. Right?
Right.
You can't like if I'm doing something and if I'm doing anything, whatever I'm doing, if there's a young person that thinks it's cool, I know that young person is not cool. Right? I know that young person's friends don't think very highly of them.
Right.
So, yeah. So I'm not sure how it works, but I'm sure that I'm not cool.
I get a little glimpse of it. I mean, with Piper,
Yeah.
she's been helping me. I've taken an interest in it, not just because she's mentioned it. The one kid has he's driving the, I think it's just an Impreza, but he cut the pipe off of it, and he's all happy with it and everything. And then, of course, wouldn't you know, he missed it. I accidentally downshifted into second, and I threw a rod. And, but he's in the automotive program, so he's pulling the motor, and he needs to find a new short block and stuff.
Oh.
And he's trying to do it all
Really?
himself. So there is a 17-year-old out there who's
still doing that shit?
who's wrenching for himself.
Tom, you're about to say something, Tom.
So that is the Fantic Caballero,
That is a Fantic Caballero.
and the final bid was €7,500.
That's not much money.
No,
That is not much money.
€7,500.
I gotta say, that's for 7,500 euros.
Yeah,
Long and short, about $8,000.
yeah. The Husqvarna, which is the flat tank,
Yeah.
14,750 euro.
What
So I
was
think
it
it's-
though? Husqvarna what?
Husqvarna Deus 701 S. It's an SM.
701.
701 SM.
And how much was that?
14,750 euro.
I might not have paid that.
And then
What's the stock price though on the 7.9 that bike? I think it's about 14. That's $14,000
bike.
bike. Yeah.
that one. Let's see. That's the that's the 14,750.
So they got a pimped out bike for like the stock bike's
Yeah.
price.
They really did.
And then the
Yeah.
the R9T.
Yeah, let's go back to the R9T. All right, there's the R9T.
18,500. And
Okay.
the R9T is an expensive bike.
That's an expensive bike to start with. Pete, what do you think an R9T goes for? Bone stocky stock, like
well,
14?
You can get into them for about 12.
Okay.
And but that's the what
right.
they call the pure.
The pure,
And then you go up the classic.
Okay.
And you can get this. There's different packages you can get.
Well, there you go. Of all of them, the Fantic is the one that is definitely
yeah.
pressing my
Well,
button.
there's a. I'm looking at the auctions. Look at the final auctions here.
Right.
It's off their Katawiki, I think was their link.
Okay.
So
all
they
right.
had a Yamaha tracker, a street tracker.
That's that right there.
Not that one is a blue one, but
Oh,
that
really?
one is the Yamaha XT600.
It is.
That one closed at 5,000. And for an XT600, even a stock XT, that's not
That's a
expensive.
very good price.
So
Yeah, that's a very good price. No, that's not that expensive.
Nope.
Well, they were right when they said it would be surprising how affordable
there's
they were.
there's some good deal. Like they have a KTM GS 350 2200.
Yep.
And they're all in euros, so I assume. And one of these is in Amsterdam.
Sure.
Like they're all in Europe or other.
Well, watching our friend Ryan from Fortnine just eviscerate the new Transalp versus the old Transalp.
I just said that to my brother yesterday.
oh
Yeah.
my God.
Well, he was kind of giving it backhanded compliments a couple of times.
Yep.
Just
I agree.
saying that it's like just boring and it's.
He doesn't want to lose all of his company's sponsorship money.
That could be.
Because he's not wealthy, but he works for a company that does sell a lot of parts and does a lot of cool stuff. And but I do like his determination of taking both bikes out and trying aggressively to break them.
Yeah.
And when you pull up the bike that is, 26 years old, 27 years old, maybe
Every bit of
30
that.
years old?
30, yeah.
30-year-old bike, and just go shit rails on it,
Yeah.
and be like, no, this is a great bike. This is a great motorcycle.
I love that footage when he showed they were in like police fleets in
Yeah.
other countries and
Yeah.
stuff. That made a great police bike.
The Transalp was one of those things that I always wanted them, and I've had several of them, and I've never, ever been angry about having one, but I've always found somebody who wanted them more than I did. No, but I don't think he is. We don't know yet. We don't know. We'll figure it out, though. Yeah, I've been intentionally doing this, right? Maybe we'll see. All right. So the mystery of the table is who's the guy? Oh, who was it? Did you figure it out? Yeah, I don't know. Okay. Anyway, so now we're gonna go to. Did you figure it out? Okay. All right. So yeah, that was the great mystery of who's the heavy breather at ClevelandMoto, because somebody's feeding the pipes. No, it's happening right now.
I know. I just turned it back up.
Oh yeah.
Jewett is doing that now.
Oh man, it's the mystery.
Microphone.
I don't know who it is. Yeah. Oh, frustrating. It's so maddening. But I don't think it's McElfresh either. Because when I heard it, I looked right over at it. I didn't think it was him.
It might be me. I'm really stuffed up.
Yeah, it could be. We'll figure it out. We're gonna figure it out. By golly, by gum, by Jimbo. We're gonna figure it out.
No, it wasn't.
I'm sure I'm the one making all of the noises.
No, because you
you
went to
were-
the bathroom.
yeah, you were-
and the breathing kept going. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, unless you got an extra box that we didn't know about.
The Phantom heavy breather.
Phantom heavy breather.
Everybody was kind of disappointed it wasn't because now we can't get mad. We're like, God damn, it wasn't Tom.
That's right. It was not Tom. I promise you, it was not Tom. And I
but if
was checking out earlier too. I was
Yeah.
kind of like, oh man, we got this weird anomaly going on. There's a heavy breather out here, and I don't know who it is. I think that's Pete. I think it's Pete.
I don't know.
My money was on Pete.
I think that was Pete.
My money was on Pete. It was
whistling through
Pete
his
that
beard.
time.
Whistling Pete.
He's not breathing. It's just the wind going through his beard. That happens.
I know I'm conscientious of it because every time I film a video with my phone or something, a Piper,
Right.
it's like,
You can hear it.
We've got Darth
yeah,
Vader.
you look beautiful, Piper. And I'm like, oh, your dad is such a fat ass fucking heavy breather.
Darth Vader back here.
Again.
Now I always hold the phone on away from me. I'm like, I don't want to hear my breathing.
You're gonna be like 90
Men of a
someday,
certain
and your
age.
wife are gonna be sitting there, and she's like, John, pull up the videos of when the kids were small. Oh,
They're talking about all the add-ons to the new iPhone. The next one's going to have the heavy breathing filter.
Well, I just think it's going to be funny when the young kids are being like, okay, well, I'm going to try to portray in my image on my my social media that I'm a wealthy old white man. So I'm going to turn on a heavy breathing filter. So make sure I have that. The backtrack of all my audio is going to have that heavy breathing in there.
But in all fairness, it's usually when I've been doing something like running or it's been an action moment where I was breathing.
Sure.
And I couldn't help it.
Yeah,
well, I bet you
happens.
date night's fun.
Oh man. Oh,
Dude,
I like thinking about that.
when I roll off and my heart is...
Oh boy.
Woof.
The camera picks all that up.
Okay.
For people who like to drink, on another topic,
Who likes to drink?
for people who like to drink, apparently the bait, we've all been victims to the Malort thing, right? I mean, I'm not telling anybody anything they don't know.
Oh, my Lord.
Oh, Malort. But I did want Patty, our podcast listener, Patty says, hey, there is an actual cocktail that can be made. Maybe it shouldn't be made, but can be made with Malort. And it turns out you need plantation rum, you need Dole pineapple juice and Malort. And you can make not a jungle bird, but what they call a shit bird. So you could have a shit bird cocktail.
Or we could leave the Malort out and actually have a drinkable drink.
And we could actually build it right. Exactly. So, yeah, I made a Malort Mai Tai, which was terrible, so I've been holding off using it in anything else, but a jungle bird just might work. So it's going to be called...
a good rum. It's a pineapple-based rum.
Yeah. Well, they have you can buy it both ways. And, yeah, pineapple, plantation rum, Malort, put it all together. Chicago shitbird. Don't say I never gave you nothing. Because
we know enough Chicago shitbirds.
If you have a bottle of fucking Malort stuck at your house and you want to make it go away, I can see no better way, once you run out of people to victimize, by handing it to them and forcing them to drink it. But that's a real thing that exists out there.
That comes from Patty in Chicago?
That's from Patty in Boston.
Is that Paddy?
Yeah, that's
okay.
Yeah, he came to our...
Yeah, Patty.
Yeah, he's been a great listener for a long time.
Patio furniture, you know this.
Patio furniture.
I know, I wasn't going to say it. I said it once.
I did.
There you go.
I went there.
Patty from Boston knows
You know, the one thing I learned
about drinking. Huh?
You know, the one thing I learned two things about Malort. Number one,
I actually think he's from New Jersey, though. So I think he's not. I don't think he's from Boston. Anyway, I'm almost
How you like
positive.
them
that
apples?
I like them apples.
I think
I'm
Boston's
almost positive he's from New
I
Jersey.
think Boston's a neighborhood in New Jersey. I don't know.
Which exit is it?
Does he sign it off with boom boom nice nice?
Yeah, I have no goddamn idea.
That'd be New Jersey.
No goddamn idea.
All right, talk to you later. Boom boom nice nice.
But remember, he's the guy who said he's going to be 100% on Team Blapper, headed by John Cocaine Bear Meckelfresh.
Fuck yeah.
When it comes time for the great buddy.
I'm gonna finally get that sorted out.
Well, we have this year to talk about it.
Yeah.
We said we're not going to try to do it this year. That'll never fucking work.
Yeah.
But we need to commit people to it at AMA Vintage Days. Get them into the idea.
The organizational meeting.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Next year.
Yeah.
I do have some motivation because Piper's been talking about wanting to get her permit. And so I thought I might try to get that buddy. I probably put a new top end on it. And
Yeah.
because I thought that'd be perfect. She could just ride that around up and down the street. And
Absolutely. Yeah. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Mom's not really excited about that. We talked privately about it.
Oh, man.
But I definitely want her to go to the Polaris program.
Yeah, take the ride. Take the ride.
We talked all about that. She's like, so wait. Okay, so it's one day and then a weekend. I'm like, yep, it's a weekend. Saturday, Sunday.
3 days.
Rain or shine.
Yep.
Somebody's going to crash. It's a kind of a real experience. You probably won't crash. I don't think you will. But
Really
don't worry if you do, because
Right.
somebody's going to crash 3 times and still pass.
Oh yeah, guaranteed. There were people in my class that I've trained that I had to get a ruling from other instructors that were there. It's just like, I don't know, like I'm feeling not so good about this one. And there's also people that I failed that came back and took the class weeks later. And when they came back and took the class weeks later, that was like they were a whole new person. So they needed that. They needed to have a bad experience. They needed to have a crash into reality. And then when they showed back up again, they were ready for this time. Because the first time they weren't taking it seriously. They showed up and like, yeah, give me the bike and whatever, and they sucked out. But then they take it again and they're much better. They're far more ready for it.
Well, I told her, I'm like, you're way ahead of the game. You've actually ridden a motorcycle.
Way
You
ahead
know
of
how
the
to
game.
use a clutch.
Yeah.
I mean, you can practice and you have a bike.
Right.
A lot of people show up there day one. They've never touched a bike. They don't have a bike. They're learning how to ride a bike.
You got it. Yeah, absolutely. And they've changed the curriculum too. So they modified the thing. It's not exactly the way it was when I was an instructor. And I think in a lot of ways it got better. So
And it was pouring down rain when I went back. I already had my license, but I was thinking about becoming an instructor. And so I took the class. You have to.
yeah.
And it was pouring down rain. And the poor guy, I mean, like 3 different times, grabbed a lot of front brake and just boom, dumped it. But he didn't quit. He didn't walk off.
Okay.
There was a girl who ran off the course and crashed. And she's like, I'm done.
She didn't even bring the bike back. She's like,
They
I'm
had-
out.
Yeah, pretty much.
Peace out. I'm gone.
Yeah, pretty much. But he stuck with it and eventually got through the final test, and they endorsed his permit. So
Yeah, I'm going to work hard this year. I made a commitment that I'm going to work really hard with the state of Ohio. I want to get a few things through. I don't think we're going to get graduated licensing, even though I want it, and I think it would save a lot of lives and it would help people. I'm a big fan of graduated licensing. I think that It would be a really good thing for certain people to not have access to something over 200 cc's for their first year.
Hey, even at how about under 500 cc's? Because there's everything up to 400
Great.
right now. There's
Well, Wisconsin used to have the 500 cc graduated thing. I failed my first test because I tried to take it on my Suzuki 750, realized I didn't know how to ride it, went out, practiced, went back and passed, no problem.
See? Yeah, that's the example. That's also why graduated licensing works everywhere except for America. And I think the reason it doesn't work in America is because of the lobbying by Harley Davidson. They feel like when they stop lobbying against graduated licensing, which I don't think will be ever, but they do not offer a 400. They don't offer a 300. They don't offer anything that any sort of a cutoff would accommodate what they're selling. And even when they had that Street 500, even if you made the cutoff 500 cc's, right, which seems very fair, and I don't think anybody in this room is going to say that a 500cc motorcycle is too small for a beginner. It's not. I mean, there's tons of great motorcycles that fit that bill. So, yeah, I really
But Harley Davidson has that 300, right?
it's just for training. So the 300, the QJ that they brought in, is for training use only. It's for Eagle Rider programs only.
It's the modern equivalent of the Buell Blast.
No, they sold the Buell Blast to everybody.
That's true. But I'm saying, as far as the side
Right.
goes, that's what it's for. Because almost everyone I've ever touched had a Rider's Edge sticker on.
Yeah, well, think about that. It was guaranteed. Rider's Edge has always been an amazing thing to be able to get somebody onto your product, into a sales environment. Look at this helmet with an eagle on it. Look at these gloves with an eagle on it. By the way, you do need to have a helmet to participate in this class. Oh, but the state class has 200 helmets over there in the locker they're going to give me for free. Do you really want that?
Headlights.
Don't you want a brand new Harley Davidson helmet with a pink flower on it and maybe an
Have
eagle?
you seen the people that are riding our bikes? Do you
Yeah.
really want to wear a helmet after?
So this is called a helmet. We're never going to make you wear this again. Yep. Right. Yeah.
That was shameless, and I apologize. That is absolutely not true.
What do you mean?
The dirt bag's not on top.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a
yeah,
Hoover.
Right. Exactly.
What's
This
the difference
past-
between a Harley and a Hoover?
The location of the dirt bag.
Yeah, the dirt bag's inside.
Placement of the dirt bag. This week I saw more people freezing their fucking faces off, including my neighbor across the street, who every time he goes to race quarter mile on a ZX 1100 or whatever he's got going on, he busts out the helmet. I know he has a helmet. I've seen him with the helmet. But it was 52 degrees the other day, and guess who went out riding and is on a 170 horsepower sport bike that's all tuned to fuck for a quarter mile, and I have never seen him wearing a helmet. And I also think he logs about 91 miles a year. Right. So his experience is clearly way up here. He's carrying a lot of safety equipment in form of experience with it. But yeah, one motorcycle.
That was kind of popular in the late 70s and 80s. I remember in my neighborhood, like, you'd only hear like this one hot rod car start up on Fridays at about 8. They'd do like the neighborhood, the blah, 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 blah. You heard one big brrrr, and then you wouldn't hear it again for like a month.
He has that too. That's his Lingenfelter Corvette.
Okay.
So he's got the 1,000 horsepower Lingenfelter Corvette that he backs out of the garage. And my garage, his garage is one door wide and two doors deep, right?
Yeah.
So in the way back part of his garage is where the Ninja sits. Uh-huh. And he's had a Harley, and I don't think he had a Hayabusa, but he's had stuff like that.
I think you're giving that Lingenfelder a lot of credit at 1,000.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's probably about 356.
He came over bragging about one time about how he spent just a boatload of money to get it, like, add 300 to the package. Yeah. I don't know. I
Add
have
300
no
to
idea.
the 245. Is it a C4? Because all the Lingenfelder.
No, this is a 3-year-old Corvette.
Oh, okay. I'm wrong then.
Yeah, this is angrily staring at Lamborghinis as they go down Lake Road. Yeah. This is an American sports car. Yeah. Right.
All of the power, performance, tuning, and suspension of a Chevy pickup.
I don't think so.
Dude, no, they're not.
No,
dude.
I don't think so.
That's the, but that
no,
is the beauty
that's the
of
C4.
That is the beauty of a Corvette.
Right.
Like you can go buy brake pads
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah, they're Chevy
yeah.
pickup. Their rotors this big. They're heavy duty. Like
No,
Ford
dude,
GT.
No, they're
right?
nothing like it, dude.
Right.
I got
Not
to
now.
I got to ride on one
Right.
on an autocross course,
Right.
full balls out tilt. Those things are ridiculous.
But any
dude.
Corvette from about the past 10 years has been a hand to Jesus sports car.
yeah,
Right.
It's legit.
Right. It's not just for transporting old men in their New Balance. Right.
my car, I can get
Yeah.
pads and rotors for front for like $150. Like,
Exactly, because it was a fiberglass place to put a guy with 50 years old and a girlfriend and a little bit of disposable income.
a little bit of disposable schneef.
It wasn't meant to actually be like going out there dicing it out with supercars. Right. Yeah.
If you read,
Yeah.
that Corvette would dice it up with a Lamborghini that was worth 500. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
pound for pound. It was only 245 back in 1988.
Yeah,
was
that's
actually
true.
kind of a lot of horsepower
Right.
for and they just made the suspension ridiculously stiff so it handled well.
Speaking of Corvettes, I'm gonna ruin your youth. The main car in the sequence of Miami Vice, the Lamborghini, the black Lamborghini that's like a weird looking one.
In Miami Vice.
It was actually Corvettes. The guy got
No, I
sued.
think that was a Daytona. I think that was a Ferrari Daytona.
Okay, sorry, Ferrari. That
Yeah,
was,
because
that was
nobody's going to put
Corvette.
a $500,000 car as a prop car in a TV
Right.
show and hang a bunch of cameras off
Yeah,
of it.
so they had like 5 of them.
Yeah.
And they went through this whole thing, but I always thought it was a real car.
No, it's a Ferrari Daytona, and even people that
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
know cars would be like, "Yeah, that's not real."
I didn't know.
That was like those
I was very
Pontiac
sad.
Fiero Lamborghini Countach kits or the
yeah,
the Fiero Ferrari kits.
Yep.
You'd be like, that's not a real one.
Yeah, because this dude, he did a video and he has a guy, he pulls
Yeah.
it out in the middle of like Florida.
Yeah.
He was like a props guy.
Yeah, sure.
And he has it and he was like, well, how does a guy own a $500,000 car?
Here you don't.
He's like, well, let me ruin your day. And then he
It's
tells
a
him-
C3 Corvette.
Yeah,
is what it
exactly.
is.
Yep,
Yeah,
that's it.
right. Yeah, that's how you do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the guy, whoever
car.
was the guy who was making them was
Yeah.
actually making them and selling them.
Yeah.
And then he got sued very hard.
That's because he was calling them the Don Juanson.
Yeah, or something. Yeah, right.
Don
You can either
Watson.
order it as a Crockett or a Tubbs, one way or the other. Yeah, that was
Either way, it was a crock.
it was a Crockett.
Yeah.
I getting back into the wide wheeled world of motorcycles momentarily. Easy for me to say.
Yeah.
I have been finding myself perplexed by people coming into my shop that keep trying to buy my TW200 from me.
What's a good looking TW200?
Yeah,
What's a guy to do?
My name's on that bike.
Okay. I'm waiting for Chris to be disinterested in the Drifter 800. Dan's waiting for me to become disinterested in the TW200.
Dan really has an urge to go 54 miles an hour.
Those are great bikes. I give them.
I do. I love them too.
That's why I bought the Lambretta.
That's true. Well, no, you don't want to go anywhere. You just want to look at it.
Oh, that truly is a piece of yard art.
I sent Nick a picture of a Velociter that somebody had done up, and it just looked stupid. It was slammed. The wheels were like this.
Oh, it was all squatted
fender
out.
flares and
Yeah.
all this stuff. And
But they're just cartoon cars at that point.
he made the comment. He's like, "Well, that thing looks fast just standing still." And I said, "Yeah, I have a feeling it does a lot of that."
Yeah, probably gets really good mileage standing still.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a customer come into the shop today that instantly walking around my shop, turning my perfectly good retail establishment into a museum, roaming around, and I actually took the damn TW and put it up on the lift. I put it up on my showroom lift just to make it very clear to people this bike is not for sale. This is clearly being worked on as we speak. This guy just beelined back there and he goes, "Is that one of those TWs?" I said, "Yeah, it's a TW. You want to sell it? Go find your own, pal. Go find your own." And it just, didn't even entertain a fucking price. Oh, no, man, they're really hard to find. No, they're fucking not, man. No, they're not. I found like 4 of them. How many have you found, Pete?
Oh, they every time one comes up, I'm tempted to go look at it, but
Did they stop selling them?
I don't
no, they still
know.
make 'em.
They still sell them.
Do they still make them?
Yeah,
So you can buy a new one.
yeah.
Dan?
I've had at least a half dozen of them.
Yeah, 2024 Yamaha TW200, $49.99.
They're not even expensive.
No.
Oh my God.
$49.99.
Well, they can't be. You can't lie that much.
No.
There's nothing on them to cost money.
No, but
Now,
I want a 25-year-old one that's not $4,000.
Now, if
you
you
know?
want the sad part, you cannot find a van to save your life.
Well, they stopped making those.
Exactly.
Did they? That's done. Vans are finished.
Yeah, I mean, basically, it's a TW200 street
I tried the van, and
with fuel injection.
yeah, that's all that matters is the fuel injection. To be quite honest with you, yeah, that's it. Dan, you're going to find your bike. I promise. I absolutely. You can ride mine anytime you want to. But
I still don't have a place to put one, so it just doesn't matter.
yeah, the guy today, he's like, "What do you want for that?" And I went, $5,000. And I just figured I know what I paid for it, so I was like, $5,000. It's got some stuff added to it, and it's also that, what do they call that? The sunken cost value. When you're like, how much should we pay for this coffee cup? $5. Okay, I want to buy that coffee cup. $10. Right?
I can't go out and buy another one for $5.
It's mine.
It will cost
Right.
me $10 to get a new one. So
It's
that's what I
mine.
want.
And when I said that, the guy was like, he didn't flinch, he didn't move, he didn't do anything. He just kind of perused it, and then he walked away. And I was like, I knew you were bullshit. And he goes, what? And I said, see, that's what happens. People ask me how much something is as though they might actually have a fucking iota of actual motivation in their body to give me money to buy it. All they want to do is they're just on a permanent fact-finding mission their entire life, right? It's my job to go out into the universe and know what things cost. There's an item, I see it, but I don't know what it costs. Let's play The Price is Right. Except for, in my store, everything is The Price is Right. I got a guy that has sat on 21 motorcycles at my shop. He's been around the horn. He brings Renee flowers. He's asked me questions
Is he
before.
a funeral director?
Brings him in the afternoon.
Or a nurse.
Only viewed once, right? But he'll come into the shop and he'll be asking about this or asking about something, and I'll tell him a thing. And sometimes he'll just be like, I'm 70 years old. I did not know that. That's information that is new to me. Here's $20. I'm paying for my time here now. I'm not just here wasting your time. You have taught me something I did not know before. Here's $20. And I'm like, that's what it feels like to be a stripper. It's good. It feels good. It feels good to have old men in my shop asking me questions, and when I give them the right answer, they give me a reward.
Did you take him to the champagne room?
This is what our Patreon's for.
Oh, yeah, there you go. That's true.
There you go.
So he's just
He's just Patreon in person.
he's literally IRL.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Hey, this is why Patreon exists, is to hand you $20
It's
when you say
amazing.
something stupid.
Because when he comes
Or
in,
smart.
I'm like,
or whatever.
I'm like, what is the bike today? What's the bike today that he's gonna buy? Because he does that. He'll be like, okay, so I've done my research and I've checked this out, and that's why I'm gonna buy this particular bike. And we'll go through the game. And I'll give him, an hour or so, and we'll go through the game. And then he goes, all right. And he disappears. And 3 or 4 days later, he comes back and he goes, now tell me about this. And I'm like, here we go.
No.
There's been ones where I'm like, your feet don't touch the ground. But I have an hour's worth of questions prepared.
He did his pregame. You're not taking
That's
it away
exactly
from
it,
him, man.
man. I have notes, man. Don't let the fact that I don't fit on this vehicle have anything to do with the training I'm about to receive. But it's absolutely true. And I mean, I guess if you work retail, you're used to it, and that probably happens all the time. But the fact that the guy's becoming kind of a fixture, but it's the first time ever, 24 years, that somebody's come in and said, all right, well, I've wasted an hour of your time. Here's $20.
You need a relief pitcher. After like 20 minutes, all right.
You're right.
Closer.
Right.
This was
Tag him in.
Ting, ting.
this was
Because when we had more staff, I could do that. When we knew that we had a fuller crew, we had more people working there, we could tag in and out all the time.
Pennington, you're up.
No, he's not up.
no.
No, he's in the back where the magic
Hey
happens.
Phil, how much does my time cost?
Way too much. I promise you. Way too much. There is no economy of scale whatsoever at this time of the year.
If somebody wasted an hour of my time and they handed me $20 in front of Phil would probably punch them.
This guy
Yeah.
keeps coming in.
Yeah.
Just keep him there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So when the next knucklehead walks in, you say, "All right, you're up. Go answer his
get him.
questions.
Go get him.
Just spend 20. Wear him down for 20
Go get
minutes, and then I'll close it."
Chris, Chris, that's what he did with you. But you don't show up for work anymore.
No, but John and Steve have both seen me do that, where I have deflected. I've taken, the old Scotty dogs, the magnets in the noses. Both of these guys have seen me take a certain person that will remain shameless and aim them at another person and then just be like, the problem has solved itself. I'm going to get my coffee. I'm going to do real work now. And it's fucking hilarious sometimes when that happens. But unfortunately, sometimes those people take up residency and they become what they call a docent. Yeah. And I don't want that.
You know what I miss?
I don't need that.
I miss dearly is I remember getting there and I'd start prepping a bike and you would go to the phone and you'd turn on the voice messages and you start going through it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure people have heard you tell stories about how ridiculous your voice messages are. But of course everybody's like, oh, well, Phil's probably exaggerating or whatever. And then you'd hit play and you'd be like, "Hi, Phil. It's Tuesday at 7:03 a.m. You're not open. Please call me back."
Oh yeah.
"Hi, Phil. It's now 7:45 a.m. It seems like you haven't opened, which is strange for a motorcycle shop." Then it'd be like 8:15, 8:45, 8:30, 9:30, 10. And then you'd call him back and the dude wouldn't answer. And you're like, "Well, I'm calling you back during business hours. So if you
It turns out we opened at 11.
Yeah.
And I'm doing my job. I called you right back right when we opened. Yeah. But you didn't respond to my 5 calls.
As of late, it's been the timing cover on a certain BV350 that's probably in the boat in Baltimore Harbor.
Right. I mean, there is a problem right now, and I freight in America really never got fixed after COVID.
Yeah.
I'm being completely straight with you. I'm not making this up. Things that started to happen during COVID, little seeds that planted with logistics, little seeds that planted with like, turns out we can run a company without having employees here.
Yep.
A lot of that shit we're paying for right now. And a lot of that stuff we thought was a great idea, and it's not a great idea. And we have had the biggest fucking problem with parts right now. And stuff that should have been a slam dunk. Stuff that we're like, well, of course they're going to have enough batteries.
Yeah.
Of course they're going to have enough oil filters. Of course they're going to have enough of this or that. We don't. And the dumbest shit that we never thought we'd get hung up on, we're getting hung up on. And we're getting hung up on pretty badly. I looked at John's tire today, and it's a very common tire that everybody uses in the world, and the quantity available was 0. And that's been happening quite a bit. And we've had to go to second stringer and third stringer suppliers on a lot of the stuff. But certain parts, well, I got 95% of your bike put together, but with this one piece, I can't put the rest of the bike together because this one piece is missing. Nobody has that piece. And we're on the phone to Germans. We're on the phone to English people. We're on the phone to Italy. Nobody has that piece. Well, then you have to immediately go, well, since this is a 2 or 3 year old bike, when did they stop making enough of those pieces? When was the decision made in a motor family that is still currently being sold right now to say, okay, we're going to stop making it? Whatever the part is, and it doesn't fucking matter what the part is. When you don't have it, you don't have it. And boy, do your customers start to think that it might be personal. But I promise you, walk into my shop, it's not personal. I would love to have your bike not be where it is right now. It'd be better if your bike was being ridden by you. There's a greater chance that you're going to need to go through some more parts if you're riding it than if it's at my shop. I'm not making any money when your bike's at my store. And we've had just the weirdest fucking thing. He's been waiting for a top end, a motorcycle top end, for in excess of 7 months.
Well, to be fair, that bike is 20 years old.
Yeah.
It's right at 20 years old. And that head is not quite exclusive to that engine, but You've now gone through at least four iterations of that motor to the modern one, and none of it really goes after the 200.
No, but it's a good example of being like something that we kind of took for granted. Like, yeah, we can get that part. No, can't get that part.
And I had to cross-reference through two different motors to get that number.
Yeah. No, it's becoming a very tough time. If you're a mechanic or somebody that has your car or whatever, and you think they're hijacking your shit
And
or
we ordered that in December.
holding your stuff hostage, we're not holding it hostage.
Yeah.
It's straight up. There's a lot of weird shit we can't get.
We make more money if you consume oil.
Yeah.
Do you think a lot of this stems from the fact that like model years of bikes only last a year or two now, where like back in the day it would be like 7 years, 8 years maybe for a model. So obviously some for 25
No,
years.
but I think a big part of it is this. The manufacturer has decided that you have had that vehicle for 10 years now, and that now you should buy a new one.
Yeah.
So we are not going to invest one fucking penny of our money or our time or our logistics making a part for a 10-year-old vehicle. And you might say, well, yeah, but at the dealership, there's the same kind of thing there right now.
But
Why aren't you making parts for it?
but-
We're trying to run out of those right now.
Yeah. The most common, what do you call it, payment on a bike is 36 months.
Yeah, by far. Yeah.
So
We're selling mostly at 36 to 48. Right
Yeah.
now.
So you're looking at a bike 3 to 4 years old, which
Yep.
is why you run. The 10-year rule with Honda is perfect because that's the sweet spot of you have paid off the bike, you've
Yes.
ridden the bike, it's time for another bike.
But I will be happy to give you the name of 3 Honda dealers in this area who cannot get parts on the 10-year rule.
Yeah.
And I've got people here in Cleveland that have motorcycles backed up in their shop that are definitely not 11 years old.
Yeah.
And they cannot get the parts to keep these bikes on the road.
Maybe it is running a 4.6 year.
Is there a mandated support rule for motorcycles?
So there used to be.
Okay.
So it used to be a thing. NHTSA, in the United States, we used to have a rule that said manufacturers were required by law to maintain parts support for their vehicles for 10 years.
Okay.
And that went away. And everyone still believes it. Everyone still believes it's there. I was able to find one thing that said that manufacturers are required to maintain support for 5 years in current legislation now that's out there right now.
Did that go away for automobiles too, or just?
I don't know anything about the car industry.
Because I know,
Yeah.
I know that was the rule for cars.
Yep.
But I didn't know if there was a.
Yep. But I've also had some smaller manufacturers that we deal with on the regular that are just like, yeah, dude, that's XYZ model Aprilia motorcycle.
Yep.
We haven't seen that part in 7 years. I'm like, well, you were selling the bike 4 years ago. So were you telling me that you were selling the bikes even though you did not have the parts to support them? And they're like, yeah, have you ever heard of the term sundowning it? We were sundowning a bike. They were sundowning a model. They were selling the bikes out. They had already decided to stop manufacturing parts for them because they were into a loss leader. And it's fucked up when somebody buys a bike and just a year or two after they bought that bike, there are no parts to support it. Same thing happens with cars sometimes. When a manufacturer leaves a market and just good luck getting parts for your 83 Alfa Romeo or whatever, right?
Well, Daihatsu left in the early 2000s. Good luck.
Yeah, I think in the motorcycle industry, we're going to start seeing more and more of that as the models become more specialized year to year. So with things like Euro 3, Euro 4, and Euro 5 standards coming along very quickly, and the manufacturers don't really give a shit about the EPA. We're very small potatoes compared to their European and Asian standards. That's where they're going to meet the standard. They're going to meet the standard for Euro 5. Okay, well, that really doesn't mean shit to me and you sitting around the table here. We don't care. We don't have e-checks for our motorcycles. Not at all. There's nobody telling you got to take your new BMW in to get it smog tested. However, in other parts of the world, yeah, you do have to do that. The bikes have to live up to those standards. So when they make those changes, it's not uncommon for you to have something that you might be like, oh, that BMW R1200's a very current platform. But they're like, no, that's not. That's 4 years away from being obsolete right now. And that cycle, I think, is going to get shorter and shorter and shorter. We know right now, our local Harley-Davidson dealer sent somebody to us on a bike that was a 2014 because they will not work on it. That's a 10-year window. And that's Harley Davidson. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means two things. One, it means they're using that 10-year window not because of parts supply. It's not because they don't have the parts. It's because they don't have the mechanics to do the work. So you have to cut it off somewhere. So how do you cut it off? Do you say we're not going to work on red bikes anymore? No, you can't say that. But you can tell somebody your Harley Davidson is more than 10 years old. We're not working on anything older than a 2014. And if you say that to somebody, we're not working on anything. Worst case scenario, they're not going to get their work done by you. Cool. Okay. That's good. That solves our problem. We don't have enough mechanics. We can't work on all these bikes. Best case scenario, they might go, honey, I got to buy her newer bike. In which case, you just sold a brand new bike, which solves all your problems.
Yep.
I'll buy an 8-year-old bike.
Well, or you might buy an 8-year-old bike. And yeah, you might find out that here in this neighborhood, at least, my number one referral phone call is when somebody calls me with a 10-plus-year-old Harley Davidson. We're not working on that. It's not that we can't work on that. It's that I'm too busy having Tom work on other things that we have a commitment to because we sold him the product. But I'm sending all that work over to Santa's and other people that I know don't have the capacity. I know they don't have 8 lifts, right? But I know that there are too many people out there that need to have the bikes worked on than there are people to work on them right now.
So helpful tip. If you want to become a motorcycle mechanic, it might be a good time.
Not joking, not joking one bit. If you wanted to open a shop right now and specialize on nothing but Harley Davidsons between 10 and 20 years old, you could make that your primary focus. You could make a shit ton of money charging $120 an hour. And if you could stay small and keep it all, just be like a 1-person shop or a 2-person shop, a couple of lifts, stay laser beam focused, only work on the certain things you want to work on. I think you'd feed yourself really fucking well. And you could do that without a college degree. You know, if you're a 22-year-old person that wants a job, you could make a job. And don't be weird and don't do BMWs and don't do KTMs and all this other shit. Don't do Ducatis. Just do Harley Davidsons.
I was just having that conversation with somebody. I was like, man, like some of these dudes, my neighbor Roger, me and him were hanging out and talking. And he has an old Harley he's rebooting, right?
Right.
And he was like, man, I'm so sick of working for the man. I'm going to get this bike running this. And I was like, dude, I was like, if you just came out and said, I worked on exactly what you said, 20 and 10-year-old Harleys, and just specialize, say I do Sportsters. That's it. Just Sportsters. You'd be the man. Like,
how many bikes does Delzani, under his roof right now, bikes he's servicing, what do you think he's turning out? Like, you know, what kind of volume? Because he's always done a good job of paying his bills. He's always done a really good job of having good income, great reputation for his work. Everyone loves the work he does. Nobody will say anything bad about his workmanship. Nobody will say anything bad about the stuff he does. But he's such a micro shop, right? It's such a small kind of almost members only, right?
Well, he's also got his machine shop business too. So I think that
you think that pays the bills.
It pays a lot of it. I mean, he does a lot of short run machine work.
Yep.
And he basically owns everybody down at the yacht club.
Okay.
Anybody that needs work done, they all refer it back up to
Okay,
him.
that's good to know. I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's in that boating community.
The boating community will always pay the bills.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know about
But
that.
how many bikes does he? You know, he's got 2, 3, at least 4 lifts that I can picture.
That's kind of what I see.
And there's always bikes. There's always a bike on.
Every time I visit, every time I stop by, there's 4 lifts full, and then there's 4 bikes waiting.
Yeah.
And he keeps a rotation going.
And, you know, he doesn't have Bruce anymore.
No, it's just him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's only him.
I know
he
had a young pup in there for a little bit, but that kid left.
didn't work out. Yeah.
For whatever reason.
Right.
But, yeah, you know, and Ed charges.
Oh, I know. Right. Well, he only does good work for good paying people.
Yeah.
He does not work on bullshit. If your bike's too dirty, he doesn't want to work on it. He only wants to work on nice, clean, pretty bikes, you know? That's what he's carved out for himself.
And he's essentially a Harley shop.
He is. Yep.
If you're a good customer and you have
Yep.
an old Moto Marini, well, maybe he'll look at it.
Right.
But,
Yeah. It's got to be something he's honestly interested in doing on his own. Yeah.
Or that you're that good of a customer.
Right.
That
Yeah.
So,
He'll do that.
Yeah,
but that's where I thought,
but Ed is 68 years old.
that's the other thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Because we need the 25 to 30-year-old crew that opens up and says, okay, here we are. We have this spot. We have these 4 or 5 lifts. And we're going to town and we're just doing twin cam 88s, 96s, Sportsters. We're doing all the things that the Harley Davidson, rock and roll Harley Davidson has proved are not part of their dynamic, aggressive profit plan.
But the pro tip is like, besides, specializing so that your skill base gets better and better, you can actually stock fucking parts if all you're doing is working on one kind and one model of that bike.
That's kind of why I was saying, like, if you just kind of narrow your focus down, because I will promise you the answer is not Japanese motorcycles. No. We're going to do a motor rebuild on a CBR. No, you're not. You are not. Oh, no, you're not. You're going to do it once, and then in 2 months, you're going to do it again. That is not how you want to live.
I think a good analogy would be like if you look at the 70s or 60s, 70s, even into the 80s, there was like specialty, like mom and pop repair shops for Volkswagens.
Right.
Because there was a lot of overlap between all the models.
Yeah.
It was a very focused. And there was guys that specialized in fixing Swedish cars, Saabs and Volvos and things like that. And I think it would be the same thing to just concentrate on certain models of Harley or
we made our bread and butter on 10-year-old Triumphs.
Oh, there you go.
T100,
because you had a dealer that didn't want to fuck with them.
Yeah, they didn't want to fuck with them. They were thousands of
them. There's a lot of them.
And this is a similar thing because the guys here won't touch them either now.
No, our Triumph shop is so painfully understaffed that they're also doing that thing. And they're doing it very quietly. They're more saying like, no, we're not saying that it's not. We're not saying it's a 10-year rule. We're not saying it's a 12-year rule. What we're saying is we just can't do that right now. They're just
there's no room for capacity.
And that's exactly what it is. And I go over there and I walk into the shop and I'm like, holy shit. Yeah. They've got 18 bikes backed up. Well, they got 18 bikes backed up and I'm like, man, I hope these are all just oil changes and tire changes. All of it. He goes, no, we got a couple back there that are, and I'm like, yeah, that's going to eat your lunch right there. Because for every time you get stuck on a bike for 6 or 8 hours, that's 6 or 8 oil changes and tire changes that aren't getting done. It's really bad.
If I have to do anything out of a service, it gets pushed over to the corner just a little bit.
Yeah.
As soon as I get the services done, that's when it goes back in. If there's electrical problems that I find on the way, a tire job, that thing today with the radiator, that goes, okay, you're going to sit back just a minute.
I promise you, what will kill you this time of the year is when the customer says, by the way, I need an oil change. By the way, I need my seasonal service. And then he brings it in and finds out the entire coolant of the bike was full of rust and it has filled up the inside of the bike.
Yep.
And you're like, so you had a catastrophic overheating event.
Well, it had a catastrophic, this is the better part.
Right.
Catastrophic overheating event because he tied into the electrical system to ride lights on his sidecar.
And he took the power away from the fan?
Yep.
Oh. Well, radiators don't work so well without fans.
Yep. Especially when they're lugging a sidecar around.
Right. So that's enough to do it.
The thing is,
that bike didn't come in with, by the way, I had no power, my engine quit running, I smelled coolant. The bike came in with, it needs a tune-up.
And because it has no center stand, it is now tied up a lift.
Of course it has. It's okay. I got a track stand. We can put that bitch on.
I know.
Oh, no. I have milk crates.
I know.
We'll put that thing right up on a milk crate.
Yeah.
But that is a catastrophic. But people will bring you catastrophics that they think are fucking oil changes. Yep. And you can't vet them.
Just needs a tune-up.
Yeah. Till you open it up.
That fly that came on the tow truck, I thought was going to be a disaster.
It's fucking dead.
It started right up.
That battery.
It was like, oh no, I'm happy as hell.
Yeah. Springtime. The word on springtime is if you didn't buy an Optimate or a battery tender last year, you now have a dead battery. That's just the way it works. Chris brings in God's fucking battery tender. He shows up and it's a goddamn squid in a box.
Yep.
It's just got tentacles everywhere. But that thing is a trooper. It puts out. It does. I have pulled other battery tenders off of dead batteries before. That thing does not. They definitely spent the money on that when they built that thing.
Well, battery tender only goes so far if your battery's like 9 years old, though. Because I've had a couple that are like 9 years old that are no longer battering.
I also think there's a lot to do with the order of operations. If your battery is dead, putting the battery tender on it after the battery's dead has a very low chance of survival.
No, but I'm just saying, like, but at some point, even if you take care of your battery, the battery does have a life cycle.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. I could promise you, my GTS, I got 8 years.
Yeah.
That was my record. 8 years out of a fucking battery. And I was shocked. I literally had to look at the side of the fucking thing to be like, did I just get 8 years out of a fucking battery?
That's good.
That's amazing. But unless I'm riding it, it's plugged in.
Yeah. Right.
Yep, that's where I'm at too.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the new batteries and with all the support electrical systems around these bikes, if they're not plugged in for 2 or 3 weeks while you're not riding them, you're losing a lot. Yeah.
And they do have a life cycle. Every time that battery charges and discharges, you're using up some of your battery to the point that, 6, 7, 8 years down the road, even with proper maintenance, keeping it plugged in, it's going to stop working one day.
I've been doing the Meckel Fresh trick lately. I got myself a little lithium, a small lithium, like YTX4 size of 2 packs of smokes, size lithium. And I just have the jumper cables on it, but I have them reversed to go to the battery tender leads. So that when you hook the SAE connector on your battery, the bike that's already hooked up, you have this one flipped over so they're black and red instead of red and black. And you just jumper them to each other. And so this way, if I have a battery that I'm not 100% certain of, because if you hook them to a battery charger, the battery may say, this battery's too low for me to even try to push electricity at. And they'll go, oh, that battery's dead. I'm like, no, that battery's not dead. It's just really tired. We need to wake it up a little bit, and then the battery charger's going to start working. So I'll just walk up to it, hook up that little lithium box real fast, pop that in, go walk around the shop, do something else I was going to do anyway, come back, and now I hook it up, and it's perfect. Now it does charge all the way back up again. Because, I've been like, if it gets below a certain point, these devices are not going to charge it because it's too low.
Give it a little sip.
So you just give it a little sip and get it up over that, 10 volts or whatever, and that little lithium is just perfect for that. Hook it up, and away you go.
Now, if you're in a place that is not highly combustible, you can do that with LiPo batteries too. Like if a LiPo battery gets down below 3.1 volts per cell, a lot of times the LiPo batteries chargers won't recognize them either.
Right.
So if you put them on NiCad, and you throw a little NiCad charge into them, just a little bit, enough to give them a little kiss.
Wake them up a little bit.
But do not leave them unattended. Yeah. Don't walk away, and I do not recommend doing this at all. But if you do it, you can get enough juice in there that you can take it off NiCad, put it back on lithium, and then it'll charge.
I can't be trusted. I tried to go home from the shop the other day, and I had 2 of my vehicles still running in the parking lot. I had locked my door and was getting onto my motorcycle, and I realized, there's 2 little Japanese cars over there that are still running because I move stuff around all the time to keep the tires from going flat, and I let them run for half an hour or so to keep everything running the way it should.
They would have still been there.
Yeah, sure. And the confusing, steering wheel's on the wrong side, and some of them have clutches. But I jumped on my bike and I went, "That's weird. I think I hear something." And I went, "Oh my god! I just left 2 fucking vehicles running."
Can you imagine?
It had a long day
in that area, though. You're right. Like, it's a good chance that people could jumped in there and been like, "Yeah, I don't know what to do with this."
Sleepy, I left the van running overnight.
Really?
Oh, he did. He really did.
I left the van running overnight
In the parking lot?
Well, the best part was I beat him in by like an hour.
in the parking lot.
and I heard the van
was the matter
running,
with
and
you?
I was trying to figure out why the van was on.
I get into work at 6 o'clock, 6:30 sometimes because Merritt's got something that she needs me to transport her here or there, and I'm just like, fuck it, I'll just go to the shop. But then it turns out, the end of a 14-hour workday, I'm a little loopy by the time I leave. And so, I'm like, holy shit, I just left the Ford running all night long.
I mean, I think I beat you in by an hour.
In Camp's Corners.
right in front of my shop.
I'm shocked that
Me too. Fucking golden horseshoe up my ass. I swear to God. And it's just sitting there, just being a fucking giant V8. Just sitting there.
You know why? Because A, it's a truck.
Yeah.
And then people were like, "There's no fucking way that somebody left this truck running."
17 hours.
The guys. I guarantee you, there were
17 hours.
There were 2 guys daring each other, and they were thinking
quarter
about
of a
it.
tank of gas. No, they're like bait car.
That's
Totally
that's what
got to
I'm
be a
saying.
bait car. Ford Econoline 350.
There's a guy with a greased up wiener over there with a shotgun just waiting. As soon as we fucking walk around and steal this thing.
No, and you know what? And not even like my place. Normally, like tactical parking maneuvers.
Right.
No, this was literally all they had to do is throw it in reverse right out onto Lorraine. Yeah, I know. I got away with it. Yeah, I'm telling you, man. But I did lose a perfectly locked up one. So the universe owes me one.
Betty?
Yeah. Betty, yeah. And that was
Stop living so dangerously, man. Calm it down a little bit.
fucking left it running. And by the way, didn't overheat. Only went through a quarter of a tank of gas, which is shocking for 17 hours. I'm really kind of surprised. But it was warm inside because I had the heat going.
about to say, now
and
you
the
know.
defroster.
You know what you just did,
It's
though?
like a fucking greenhouse in there.
Now you have facts. If you ever be traversing over mountains and get stuck in snow,
Oh yeah,
you have
no,
at
I
least
know.
17 hours per quarter tank.
When people are worried about that shit, I'm like, no, this bitch will idle for a day on a quarter of a tank of gas
Yeah.
with the heat and defrost
and
running.
and you got the data. It's
full
like
bore.
hard fact data.
Oh, why wasn't it full of homeless people at least? Why weren't they just like?
Right, when you said it was warm, I was like, at very least, you'd think somebody would be sleeping in it.
I did find somebody in one of my little Japanese cars because I didn't lock all the doors. So the one night I left podcast, went to another place, and then went to my shop just to stop in at the shop on my way home. And I was like, it looks like there's somebody inside of one of my little cars. And there was. There was a dude taking a nap in one of my cars. And I was like, I opened the door and I was like, get the fuck out of here. And he had his stuff like laid out on the seat next to him. He was really making a camp out of it. Yeah. And I was like, get the fuck out of here. And it smelled like cigarettes in there and everything. I was like, just get out of here. And he said, I'm not hurting nothing. I was like, I didn't say you were hurting anything, but you're not supposed to be in here. Yeah. Well, it was unlocked.
Yeah.
Fair. Okay. Yeah. I guess I was asking for it. But
Get in all the unlocked cars. I mean,
Go sleep there.
But I get it. It's my fault. I didn't tighten it up. Back security's my own fault. But it is just it's that dopey kind of thing. We used to have a guy that worked for us, and every time I'd pull the door at the shop, I knew it was a 50-50 chance whether or not the door was locked.
Oh, I will make a beeline. I left a door open one time.
Oh man!
And I found out several hours later. I will make if I go up the street 2 blocks and think maybe I didn't lock it.
I've gone home from Avon Lake.
yeah.
I've gone back to the shop from Avon Lake because I wasn't 100% certain that I locked the door. And I'm just like, holy shit, because it happens.
Yep.
It fucking happens. Also happens when you pull the door and your alarm goes off.
Yeah.
That's a little spooky. Anybody got anything else? Fuck it, let's get out of here. Somebody wake up Mecklefresh.
John.
Anyway,
Just monitor.
Somebody wake up the Gimp.
hey Pete,
just resting my
Pete,
eyes.
you got any more jokes? You were telling some good ones
I
earlier.
got nothing. I'm tapped out.
Smith, you got no joke?
Squatoosh.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
The derelict
All right,
of duties.
if that's all there is, remember to ride fast and take chances. Play us out here, Johnny!
Bum, 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 bum,
Hit the red button, check, get us out of here, Sleepy!